Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 8th, 2021 regular council meeting of the City of Delaware Beach. Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I have some horrible news that I have to give everyone. On August 25th, my dear friend Josh Hollis passed away from COVID. He's 39 years old, leaves his wife and his son, Buck, and my heart goes out to you guys. Josh was a very dedicated citizen of our city. He served on our Board of Adjustment, and he was about the best friend you could ever have. There is a service on Saturday, the 11th, at 2 p.m. this Saturday at the Country Christian Church. That's at 1850 North McMullen Booth Road in Clearwater. The city is invited to, it's a celebration of his life. It's going to be tough without him, but we're going to try and make it through. Rebecca, my heart goes out to you and your family. Please join me in a moment of silence for Josh. Please stand. Join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Robin Aki. Here. Councilmember Frank Baker.
Present.
Councilmember Glenn Dunn.
Here.
Councilmember Leslie Notero. Here. Councilmember Rita Swope.
Here.
Vice Mayor David Gaddis.
Here.
Mayor Joseph Manzo.
Here.
City Manager Lynn Reeves.
Here.
And City Attorney Fred Riley.
Here.
Okay, thank you. So the first item of business is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Leslie Notero,
Second.
second by David Gaddis.
On the question, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
I'd like to amend the agenda for tonight regarding an issue which happened last Thursday, September 2nd. My amendment for discussion involves the beach and parking access along with safety and possible detriment to our lot of 12th Street. I asked last Thursday for this to be put on the agenda for tonight and was referenced my request was not timely because the agenda items need to be placed by Wednesday. While I'm not disputing this requirement, even though this council meeting was set 6 days later, the incident or amendment I request directly impacts our residents and other residents which have addressed this in past council meetings. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, my request is now timely since the adoption of the agenda has not taken place and my request for the amendment falls under the rules of Robert's Rules of Order.
Thank you. Before I ask for a second on that, well, first let me ask for a second on that. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, we got a second. City Attorney, and I'm going to be asking for a change on this agenda also. Typically, you have to pre-advertise any agenda items in order for it to be official. This does not, I do not believe this incurs an expenditure of money, but it is something that was brought up, I believe, by Mr. Bankert earlier. There is no rule that, you know, that's our rule, a house rule here that a Thursday afternoon thing has to be done. It has been as early as Wednesday, it can be later. There's no real rule from Florida as to when something can change on an agenda. So I'll certainly entertain this, but first I have to seek your approval as to whether this would be an appropriate amendment. I know certain ones wouldn't be, but this one's different. It's not a financial one.
The question is whether you should allow an amendment to address an issue at this point.
If it passes, yes. This amendment that Councilmember Bankert has proposed.
I'm having all sorts of trouble hearing you because of your mask.
Sorry, I'm trying to not spread this
understand
COVID thing. It sucks, and I don't want anybody else getting hurt with it. So,
Fully understand that. What I understand the situation is, the agenda was finalized and then was sent out. Is that correct?
can't hear you.
It was sent out the next morning. I think what Patty sent to Councilmember Branford was what it says in our, that it has to be in about 4:30 prior to the meeting.
Okay, well, my response is if an item comes up, and especially if it's not requiring expenditure of funds, you're not entering into a contract, you're going to discuss something that is a very relevant thing, then I think if the council wants to allow it to be discussed, then you ought to let it be discussed.
With that, I'll open it up to council discussion. This is in play. Any discussion? This is only on the amendment, on Frank Bankford's amendment.
I would like to hear the amendment one more time.
Certainly. Mr. Bankford?
My amendment goes to beach parking, beach access, and possible detriment to the lot of 12th Street and the safety accessing the beach on an issue that occurred on September 2nd.
Would this be something that we're voting on?
No.
Okay. Eventually, will it come up to a vote, you think?
On this amendment, no. I don't believe it will come up to a financial vote or a financial.
Just a vote in general?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a question too. You stated this is the 12th Street Beach access, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's Bel Air Shore property, and I'm not sure that that would be considered Bel Air Beach's city business to discuss. So I'm not sure why we would even be involved in that discussion.
I beg to differ whether that's Bel Air Shores property according to the 3 deeds that are recorded in this office and this county of Pinellas, which clearly says, I believe, I can read the lot in question, and I want to quote from the conveyance of February 12, 1948 states, that said parties of the first part, and for consideration of the sum of $1 to them in the hand paid by said party the second part, end of quote, that's Bel Air Beach. Receipt whereof is hereby acknowledged, have granted, bargain, sold, conveyed, and confirmed, and these in presence do grant, bargain, sell, convey, and confirm unto said party of the second part, again Bel Air Beach, and its successors forever the following parcel of land and situated in the counties of Pinellas, state of Florida.
I'll help you out a little bit. I know a little bit about this. City of Bel Air Beach has every citizen east of the center line of Gulf Boulevard has a perpetual easement that runs with their land to utilize those lots for beach and bathing purposes. And if I'm not positive that I know what we're speaking about, but I have a pretty good idea what it is. And that absolutely impacts the ability for the citizens to use the lot. So it is city business.
No disrespect, I'm not sure you actually know what this is about, but again, it's a safety issue. It's our residents. Our residents were impacted directly. I was impacted, and I just would like to explain to council.
I have no problem with it. Any other council comments? This is just on Leslie.
Yeah. Did you say a September 2nd incident?
Correct.
Okay, so I know nothing about the September 2nd amendment. It sounds like maybe it's something more appropriate for council comments at the end than putting it on as an agenda item.
Well, I believe it should be an agenda item because if the incident would have happened September 1st, it would have been on the agenda. But because it fell on September 2nd, it was a day later than the agenda was written. It would have been timely submitted, but because we have that rule the Wednesday before.
Am I the only one in council that has no idea what the
No.
September 2nd incident was? So I feel, it's hard to discuss something on the agenda that you
Well,
have no idea what it is.
I can briefly discuss it right now if I'm allowed.
Hang on. We have to get an approval to at least add it to there, because we're still in the approval of agenda, so we're on number 1. To the council, you're going to have to trust Councilmember Bankard that he says this is important and something we need to know about. If we don't think that that's the case, then vote it down. Mr. Bankard, I'm telling you right now, Councilmember, there's going to be a work session right after the next budget. I have a number of issues that I'm going to deal with, and I'll be speaking about tonight, okay?
I'm done with this. I have a number of issues that I'm going to be speaking about tonight, and they're going to be handled in the work session. We're going to be doing stuff. So that is a secondary option if for some reason you don't get this opportunity. But if it's an emergent matter, I'm with the city attorney. I want to hear it.
The only reason I would like to put it on the agenda item is because the people who are in this room are here now. When council speaks about their personal agenda or whatever, most of these people will probably be home and in bed, okay? Where I'd like to be sometimes, but regardless of the fact, I see some people that this impacted directly. So I think it plus, what I want to bring up is people already, since I've been to council, addressed the council about this. So.
I say, let's agree to put it on the agenda, because in the future, one of us may bring up another issue that we feel is important, and just to extend the courtesy to Frank, like we would like it to be extended to us in the future. So on the sense of good faith and trust, and I would do this for each and one of you. If you felt strongly about something, I support him.
Any other council comments?
My recommendation would be to move it, or to add an agenda item 22A. That does move it to the end, but it makes it an official agenda item. 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, he's going to be able to speak anyway. Let's go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt and put it on as an agenda item.
We'll put it, so it's the 22A amended to 22A. Okay. Citizens, any comments on that? Just on that? None? Back to here. Leslie Notaro, you have the last word if you'd like, before we call it for a vote, just for Frank's amendment. You moved the motion, so.
I did the motion.
Oh, for the agenda, I'm sorry. So, yeah, so Frank, you actually have the last word.
No more word.
No more word. Okay, so let's do well, you know what, let's just call it. I'd rather just go through, call the roll, please. Okay, so let me call this question. So this is to amend the agenda as item 22A for the proposal of Frank Bankard regarding the 12th Street access and some observations and information that he has that he wants to give to council. It'll show up as regular agenda item 22A. Yes vote gets it on the agenda, no vote keeps it off. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Aye.
Councilmember Ontario,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gaddis,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye, so 7-0. Frank, you'll lead that at 22A then, okay? You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so with back to the regular agenda, Leslie, you didn't even have a chance to speak. You did bring that motion, regular agenda. Any comments? Because I do want to make a proposed change to the agenda.
I mean, I move to approve the agenda, which now includes a 22A.
Okay, and I'm going to have one more for you, okay? So items number 12 through 16 are authorizations for the city manager to act on various contracts. If you total up these contracts, they total almost about 3/4 of our annual operating budget, and they're going to be passed on a consent agenda without discussion. Without discussion by the city, without discussion by the council. That is not what the state of Florida envisions. This is supposed to be a deliberative body, so I'm going to make a motion that items 12 through, and I'm making this motion, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to pass the gavel if I get a second on it. I'm making this motion because I don't want this council to get themselves in trouble. We cannot blow this stuff by without discussion. There's $750,000 of expenditure going down here, and we are not passing that without discussion. I don't care if there's no discussion ultimately on it. We want to have that discussion out here. And if we don't do that, then woe to us, because I do believe that we're violating several things, including the Sunshine Law, the Public Meetings Law, and allowing the citizens to have the opportunity to speak. This should never be in the consent agenda. So items 12 through 16 is my motion. Do I have a second? And I will pass the gavel.
Second.
Second. Thank you. Dave Gaddis, you're going to chair this part just for my motion. I'm first because I was the one who proposed it. So it's this simple, okay, as I just said. We basically have items 12 through 16 on here. Item 13 is a $52,000 contract. Item 14 is a $58,350 contract. An interlocal agreement is number 15, there's no dollars attached to that. Item 16 is a $304,000 contract, and I skipped item 12, which is a $522,000 contract. That's almost $900,000 on a $1.2 million budget. What are we thinking? That we're going to pass this without allowing you, the citizens, to be able to speak? There's approval of police in here, there's approval of new garbage fees in here, and you deserve to be heard on it, and so does this council. I have questions on several of these. Some of them I have absolutely no questions on. This is not consent agenda. Consent agenda is for recurring ministerial items. It's National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Don't laugh. You don't understand it. It's for ministerial items. That's what the state statute says, and Fred Riley has that statute. I serve on 4 boards, and not one of them tries to ram through stuff under the consent agenda, including the minutes. I have a problem with that. These minutes, in my opinion, happen to be excellent. There's not a problem with them. But sometimes that's not the case. We need to have the ability to deliberate this stuff and not ram it down your throat, $900,000 worth of expenditure. So please, let's do the right thing and get this right the first time. Because if we don't, then it's void ab ito, which means it's completely void contracts. That's all I have to say. Dave Gaddis, back to you.
Would any other council members like to make a comment?
Yes, I would. I'd like to ask the city attorney, how does this violate any sunshine law or any other laws?
I don't know.
I'd like to ask the city manager, have we not spoke about every one of these items in different work sessions and at other council meetings where everybody was allowed to say and speak about it at that time?
Yes, with the exception of the interlocal agreement.
Okay.
Everything else has been, it's standard contracts for each year that we do.
Any other council members?
Yeah. Let me help you with that law.
Wait a minute, I didn't have the opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Mr. Riley did make a recommendation that basically we give the public the opportunity to speak on all consent agendas, and that would resolve the issue, so they could pick any one of them to discuss. Just throwing it out there.
Unfortunately, that doesn't resolve the issue of the council, which is also part of the public speaking. So let's cut right to the chase, folks. You're going to find out some information about your police contract that maybe somebody doesn't want you to know. I got that information, but I can't give it to you right now because there's not going to be a discussion. But we're going to ram through, without your discussion, $522,000 expenditure, the biggest single contract we have all year. That doesn't merit discussion. Let me tell you what the city manager thought merited discussion. A $280 bill from June Van Scoy for records requests. That merited an hour-and-a-half discussion. A $320 bill from me. That merited an hour-and-a-half discussion. But a $600,000, $500,000, $300,000? Nah. Let's just rubber stamp it. We could be out of here by 7 o'clock. It's not what our function is as a council. As for consistency, let's go back to last year, 2020. Every one of these items was in the regular agenda. Consistency. I've been preaching it since I swore in as mayor. So tell me what changed from last year to this year, because the law certainly didn't change. Florida doesn't envision you passing 3/4 of your budget without the citizens and council talking about it. And no, we didn't talk about this contract for the police. It just came out. And I just found something out about this police contract, and I want everybody in this town to know about it. But I can't tell you, because I'm not allowed to talk.
Mr. Riley, can you advise us what's the best course of action?
Say that again?
I'm sorry, can you advise us what's the best course of action, whether or not these items should be put into the regular for discussion? Like, what's the proper thing to do?
Yeah, I made a mistake today. And the mistake I made is I wrote an email, and in the email, I should have said, and in hindsight, I would have done this, but didn't want to write another email. When I said members of the public, I should have said, and city council members. The easy solution to this predicament is to have anybody that is in this room that wants to comment on the items, comment on the items. And that way, there's no issue whatsoever about whether there's compliance with the statute. So that's my recommendation. If I had to do it over again this morning when I wrote the email, I would have said members of the general public and the city council. I thought that was implicit in what I said, but I guess it was not. So, sorry for all the confusion. The object of doing this is to have transparency in government and to have people have the opportunity to be heard, which means an opportunity to give input, and whether you as the council want to take that into account in any way, shape, or form is up to you as the council.
Yes.
With that said by our city attorney, rather than get ourselves into a legal bind, it doesn't look like there's a, Roman Empire out there audience, so let's just move this and let the people speak.
Would anyone in the audience like to speak on these topics?
Just on these topics.
Just on the agenda?
Well, I have some questions.
Vice Mayor Gaddis,
Yes.
you're in the middle of addressing the amendment, so I would suggest you complete that task and then go to the next step.
Correct. The amended agenda.
We have to pass it.
Manzo amendment, we'll keep it simple.
Have we passed the Manzo amended
No,
agenda?
it's,
So we need a vote to
no, yes,
amend
he
it.
just went for public comment, so this is
Okay.
only on the Manzo amendment.
I have a couple of questions that I don't understand from your comments and from what I'm reading on the agenda. You mentioned an interlocal agreement is one of the items on this agenda. Can you point that out to me?
15.
Yeah, item 15.
Okay, there it is, interlocal.
Pinellas, with Pinellas County.
How do I find out exactly what that entails? What are the details of that?
There should be in the back, on the presentation table, Patty's nodding, there's copies of the agenda there. Yep, and they're
And
online.
the other police contract that you mentioned, is there another way of finding out what's in that contract?
It should also be
Yes,
there.
it is in there. If you look at the consent agenda item numbers there, further back in the agenda, you'll see that there's an item number. We have them tabbed.
Will there be an
Tabulated.
opportunity for me to comment later after I've read them? Because I haven't seen them before.
The agenda has been published for about 6 days now. It's been available online. I don't have a good answer for you.
I didn't see it this morning, the agenda, but it might be me that missed it. Because I did look for the agenda for the budget this morning.
Yes, Mayor.
If I may. Ms. Rodero, you will have, if this passes and these are moved to the regular agenda, I will call each one of these for comment and public comment. So you'll have that opportunity, but we're going to move in there pretty quickly because it's going to come right after the minutes, okay?
Do we have any other citizens who'd like to comment on the Manzo agenda, amended agenda? Yes, sir. Mr. Hanser.
John Hansick, 22nd Street. The only comment I want to make about the mayor's motion, amendment, whatever, is I would encourage you to seriously consider voting in favor of it. We're all, everybody in this room, basically, we're all taxpayers, okay? And I was a little surprised to hear, for example, that there's an issue in the sheriff's proposed budget. I didn't have time to look through that. You know, I'm supposed to be retired and have all kinds of time, and I'm working more than that, when I get a paycheck. But besides that, it's important that we all have the same information, okay? So I would just ask everybody on the council, give it the benefit of the doubt. There must be something there that's important enough that he brought it up, just like Mr. Banker did earlier, and you gave him the benefit of the doubt. It's all about us together as taxpayers. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Would anyone else like to comment? Back to council. Mr. Gunn?
Just out of curiosity, the agenda items that are being questioned in the budget, have there been any revisions? I know we had 2 budget revisions, but the concerns about the sheriff budget, have there been changes to that budget in those 2 revisions? So, I mean, all of these items have been discussed at, we've had, what, 2 or 3 workshops to discuss the budget, and none of these issues were brought up at that time?
No, the sheriff, as an example, gave us his budgeted number. They submitted the contract, which is, it's a pretty standard contract. I submitted to the city attorney. He looked at it, said it was fine, and I put it on the agenda.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify that there haven't been any changes or any conspiracy theory here trying to slip one through at the last minute here. There's been adequate time at the budget sessions and reviews to discuss all these issues that are being brought up. It's nothing secret. And while I appreciate the ability of residents to make comments, the process is working. You've asked to remove things from the consent agenda. I support that. But I want to clarify that there hasn't been any sneaky or conspiratorial things taking place with the budget at the last minute. So while we can draw this out, it's routine business for council to discuss lengthy, intricate business details and finances at work sessions and approve it and get a consensus at those work sessions, and then you come forward and in the interest of timeliness, you approve it on a consent agenda. So, I mean, it's nothing new. It gets done by large municipalities all the time. But I fully support the process. It's working here. You've asked to remove items from the consent agenda and pull it into the regular agenda. I have no problem.
I have the same feeling. Basically, if we don't move this, we're going to get into a quagmire where we just will never be able to move on with this agenda. So I'm for the Manzo agenda amendment.
Thank you both for your support. I will have the last word here. Not saying there's a conspiracy theory, but there is new information that came to my attention after our last budget meeting. So, I want to share that with the city, and we can do with it what we wish. And I have some questions on some of this other stuff, because it's the first time I'm seeing some of these contracts. Just to understand the budget process, okay? And I described this to someone today. You all make a budget at home. You budget for a vacation this year. That doesn't mean you're going to France, okay? You might go, and you might not. You might have to stay home and paint the house. There might be bad weather and you can't go. You might have something come up that you can't do it. It's in the budget. The budget doesn't mean everything is rubber stamped, go ahead and spend it. It means we've set money aside for it. And we're going to be talking about the approval of the budget later on tonight. So this has nothing to do with the budget. I don't want to interfere with these two things. These are separate items. We spent more time talking about it right now. I could have probably ran through about every one of these and had them approved by now, because I don't think there's going to be lengthy discussion on most of this. But there may be some stuff that when people hear it, it gives them pause. And if it does, then we'll come back and approve these things later. That's all I want, the opportunity to have full disclosure with everyone. We don't hide the ball here.
Yes,
I will play it.
Mr. Gunn.
I agree with the transparency and full disclosure, and I will go back to my comments at the previous work session. We spent more time discussing a 30-page sign ordinance, and then we spent 30 minutes talking about a budget when we could have spent the time talking about a budget. So that's my point here, is all of a sudden, this is a dire consequence of getting focused in on and distracted by a possible Supreme Court case involving a sign, when we could have been discussing a $4 million budget of the city. So it's priorities.
I have never limited anyone's time, other than a citizen who has 3 minutes. We never limit it. You can stay here all night. We have been. We've been here till 1 o'clock in the morning. I will stay as long as anyone needs to stay. I've got no place to go. I've seen every Gomer pile, so I don't need to be home at 9 o'clock to watch the reruns. We'll stay here as long as it takes. So don't ever say that we ever tried to rush anything through, because you have the floor, anyone has the floor. You've made 45-minute presentations sometimes on traffic and stuff. We listen. Maybe we got it in the first 10 minutes, but you know what? We listen. You had the floor. You put a lot of work into it. We want to hear what you have to say.
I believe
So
Mr.
time is
Gunn
not-
still has the floor.
Time is not a limit here.
Thank you for that, but sometimes it takes 45 minutes to get the point across to some people. My point is we did not take the time at the budget time to discuss the budget. Instead, we spent so much time talking about a sign ordinance. Everybody was weary, and that's it. Let's call it a day, declare victory, and leave. Thank you.
Any other council members? Okay. I'm going to call the question.
One question.
All right, this is to amend the agenda to move which items?
12 through 16
12
inclusive.
through 16 into the regular agenda. Do I have a motion?
Oh, you have
I
a
guess I
motion.
already
You
did.
call it, yeah.
Call the question.
Patty can call the roll.
Go ahead, Patty.
Councilmember Rocky,
Aye.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Aye.
Councilmember Notaro,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gaddis,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye.
I will pass the gavel back to you, sir.
I'll announce it for you, passes 7-0. So the Manzo Amendment, or the Manzo Amendment is passed. Item 12 through 16 will move straight in order onto the regular. Now, with that, we're still on approval of agenda. Does anybody have any other comments on the agenda? Citizens. Leslie Notaro, last word, and I'll call the question.
Approve it as amended.
As amended twice, okay? I'll do a voice vote on this. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? 7-0, the amended agenda is passed. Amen. And we move to citizen comments. This is item 2. So this is citizen comments, and just for anyone who might be new, any items that are not on the agenda, you can comment on. This is the time. If there's something that's on the agenda, we will get back to you later on, and you'll have the opportunity to comment again on it. So this is anything that is on your mind that we did not list on this agenda. With that said, please come up here to the front podium, give us your name, and give us the information. Yoli's come in motion over here, so Yoli Rodero will be first.
Good evening, Yoli Rodero, 113 12th Street, and I believe I have Darlene's Gray and Barry Gray's minutes in case I need them.
You have 9 minutes total, Patty.
On June 7th of this year, this board, this council passed, after much heated
Yoli, can I just ask you to speak right into that mic about an
much
inch away?
heated discussion, you passed a worthless resolution stating that Bel Air Beach is not part of a lawsuit that was filed by Mr. Manzo and the interveners. I am one of the interveners. It was published in the newspaper, and a big hoo-ha was made about that to make sure that the world knew that Bel Air Beach was not part of this lawsuit. Yet a month later, as a result of the Freedom of Information Act, I have before me some invoices from the attorney, city attorney of Bel Air Shore, which I will give to Ms. Clerk for your review afterwards. And of these invoices, there are 3 entries that kind of trouble me. Although I think one may have been answered in our earlier discussion, not answered, but hinted at. But these 3 entries really concern me. The first entry is July 2nd. It's a preparation of correspondence to Bel Air Beach regarding settlement negotiation and interlocal agreement. Now, we mentioned interlocal agreement a little while ago, and I'm going through the big thick packet to see if I can find out what exactly it means. I have yet to see what it really means. So I'm curious as to what is the change in the interlocal agreement. But this particular entry, I'd like to see what that letter was. She prepared a correspondence to this city regarding not only the interlocal, but also the settlement of the proposal settlement, all right? Negotiation. Now, this settlement negotiation only applies to the lawsuit. Does not apply to the city, does not apply to anything else. It's the lawsuit, which the city has no business or interest in, and whoever that party was negotiating with her, which I think is the city manager based on the other two entries, I want to know why. Because that person is not authorized to discuss lawsuit negotiation of that lawsuit, any kind of settlement negotiation with the city of Bel Air Shore. On July 14th, there was a telephone conference with Regina Kardash and our city manager regarding settlement proposal. What settlement proposal would that be? During that time period is when the parties of the lawsuit had submitted a proposal to the city of Bel Air, the town of Bel Air Shore for consideration of the lawsuit. So why is the city manager discussing settlement proposals of a lawsuit of which he's not part of and the city's not part of with the attorney of the town of Bel Air Shore, which by the way is not the attorney on the lawsuit? All right, there is another attorney. She has no business discussing that either. And then on July 22nd, there's a third entry, telephone call to Bel Air Beach city manager. Now, July 22nd is very important because that's either the day or the day after the town of Bel Air Shore decided to reject our proposal. Maybe the thumbs up was given, I don't know, but I want to know what that discussion was. Now, my concern is, why is the city manager involved in this? And either I like to have a really good reason, or I like to have some reprimands, because you guys passed this resolution saying you're not part of this lawsuit. And that means you stay out of the lawsuit. You stay out of commenting, in negotiating, or giving information about the lawsuit to the other party. I'd like to see that letter, Mr. Reeves, the one that she's prepared for you. Also, at the
Excuse me,
very...
Mr. Darrow, I'm going to hold the time for a second. Point of order information. Are you making a public records request for that item?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'm
Patty,
sorry,
note
I
that as
don't
a public
phrase it
records
correctly.
request. Time back in, okay.
To me, this is a waste of our city manager's time and monies on items that are not in his job description, which at the very minimum should require reimbursement to the city. As a private citizen, I'm sure he's free to talk to anyone, just like all of you are free to talk to anyone about the lawsuit. But when you're talking on behalf of the city, after you pass that wonderful resolution, there's a violation there somewhere. And I'd like to have someone look into it. And I do want to point out that it is the city manager's position sometimes to be contacted first. For example, this might be closely related to Mr. Bankert. Anyone asking for permission to park in our access lots, be it film commission, construction workers, they'll come and they'll call the city manager first. And I believe his response to be, no, you're not allowed. Or if he wants to make an exception for a particular issue or person or company, then there should be a process by which that should be done. An application, a sign of waiver of liability for damages and accidents that can be caused, plus a hefty fee for parking in our lots. But no, the city manager has been known to respond, I don't know, call Bel Air Shore. Pass the buck to Bel Air Shore and let them do what they're not allowed to do. Because their ordinance specifically says they are not allowed to give permits. And yet they consistently do. And why? Because we have abdicated our responsibility to control the parking. So I will give these invoices to Ms. Patty for you to see. I will ask for the Freedom of Information request on that letter. And if anyone can tell me what this interlocal agreement discussion is about, what does it mean? Because I haven't gone through the entire agenda yet, so I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodero. Are you going to be here till the end tonight?
I'm gonna try.
I will address most of this, because it's not lost on me what you just said, and there's plenty more beyond that. So if you can stay, and all of you can stay, I'm gonna open your eyes to some stuff that maybe you don't want to see. A long time coming.
Well, if we don't want to see it, that's not an incentive.
What's that? Oh, you want to see it. Trust me. You want to see it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
The resident brought up some issues that are going to be in 22B. I didn't want to, you know,
Yeah.
kill the thought process, but I don't know if it's appropriate.
It's not. I mean, here's what we did, Mr. Banker. Last time, we said, we had a discussion with okay, so what our rule says is, when a citizen comes forward, we thank them, we can refer it to the city manager or city attorney. I have that option. Or we can deal with it later on during our period of time, or we don't have to deal with it at all. Last time, we suspended the rules so that we could have discussions with the individual so that they don't have to wait till the end of the night. That's what we did last council session. So, you know, if I'll entertain a motion if somebody wants to do that, and we can discuss it.
Well, Mr. Gaddis made a very good point at the last meeting when he did that, to get the citizens and get the council members interjection back and forth while they're still here. She said she may not be here. So I'm making the motion that we open it up.
I'm sorry, my comment was to hear, not to respond. I never said that it was a back and forth. It was more of a, the citizens deserve the right to speak and to be heard. They shouldn't have to wait till the very end of the meeting to be heard. Doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with, I want a back and forth conversation every time someone speaks. That's not.
But didn't you open it up for discussion?
Last time we did open it up for discussion, yes.
I'll stay to the end.
1 second.
I'll stay to the end.
Okay, that's fine. There's a motion on the floor. I need, Dave Gaddis isn't going to second it, obviously. Is there anyone who wants to second Mr. Bankart's motion? Open this up to have a discussion now.
Second.
We have a second. Now we have a discussion. Mr. Bankert.
Well, I don't know if we want to get into this line item because she brought
No,
up.
hang on. This is just to sell your idea of let's open this up, so you can talk about opening it up. Yep.
She brought up some issues that are in 22B that are, I think, critical to the city. And I think it should be discussed while everybody's here.
Yeah. And I would like to say what I have to say right now. I don't want people to trickle out of here when the reporter's tape recorder runs out. I want the reporter to hear what I have to say tonight about what happened a year ago with this city and this city manager. I want you all to hear this. Anyone else on council? Glenn Dunn.
Yes, I just have a question for the city attorney and the city manager. I have no knowledge of the first item that Ms. Rodero brings up about the issue, but when she uses the term interlocal agreement, it does raise a question in my mind, because who are the only people who can negotiate or discuss an interlocal agreement? I mean, in my mind, it takes place between the council or the city manager or the city attorney, between the municipalities, not interveners or parties to a litigation. So when you use the term an interlocal agreement, that raises my interest. Well, yeah, there is a vested interest in the city manager discussing an interlocal agreement with another municipality. So, I mean, to me, that's no surprise. Again, I have no knowledge. Please allow me to finish, sir. Please allow me to finish. Please, the interlocal agreement
Mr. Gunn,
is discussed.
I'm calling a point of order. This is about whether this is going to be put on as an agenda item to be a back and forth, not a discussion of what your feeling is legally about an interlocal agreement, which I might add has nothing to do with the one that Ms. Rodero is talking about. So let's stick to apples to apples. This is a question of Mr. Bankard, Councilmember Bankard has made a motion to open up a two-way discussion. Yes or no, we want a two-way discussion. There'll be ample time to talk about whether your city manager did a good job or did a poor job. That will be heard tonight. Whether it's heard at midnight or it's heard at 7 o'clock, it's going to be heard. So, please, you have the floor to talk about whether Mr. Bankard should or should not get his wish. That's all I want to hear about right now.
And I was just merely asking for a clarification of the issue for Ms. Rodero before we proceed.
Okay, we'll move on. Anyone else on council? Citizens, just on this motion. back to council with Frank Bankard having the last word.
I believe we should, while the citizens are in front of us, they bring up some issues, I believe we should have a back and forth discussion.
Okay, so the motion on the floor at this point from Frank Bankard is to open up a two-way dialogue between the citizens. Now, we're not going to have the citizens come back up and back. That's not the way it works. Ms. Rodero said her point, this council will respond to it, that's that. And then the next person can come up and we will have back and forth with them during citizen comments. A yes vote will make that happen. A no vote will stick us to our regular stuff and we will deal with it later on. Patty, please call the roll.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
Councilmember Gunn,
Aye.
Councilmember Notaro,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gaddis,
Aye.
Mayor Mando.
Aye, passes 7-0, Frank Bankard, we will be having that two-way discussion. Now, Ms. Rodero, you had a number of questions for this council. Allow me to knock one out real quickly because it's the easiest one. We're using this interlocal agreement. There's several interlocal agreements. I can assure you the interlocal agreement you're familiar with as part of the lawsuit, which has to deal with the arrangement between Bel Air Shore and Bel Air Beach, is not the interlocal agreement that's on the agenda for tonight, okay? That's actually an interlocal agreement between us and the Pinellas, I think, Code Board or Pinellas Building Inspector to do building inspections and stuff for us. So, same term, two different things. And I'll bring it back to the council then if anyone else would like to respond. Frank Bankard, I know you had some items, and I'm going to bring some stuff up later.
Well, can I go?
Absolutely, you have the floor.
All right. The resident brought up construction on these lots, parking on the lots. And one of the things I wanted to bring up, I got passed in 22B, was last Thursday, September 2nd, I was going north on Gulf Boulevard, about 9 a.m. and noticed at our 12th Street lot, 2 tractor trailers and a 130-ton crane was parked in the lot. All parked using up more than one half of the lot. On my way back, the crane was being built. All right, when I mean being built, counterweights installed, outrigger pads put on. I'm a certified crane operator, hold licenses in other states, so I'm not trying to.
I'm impressed.
Well, yeah,
I really am.
what I'm saying is, I understand cranes pretty well, all right? Anyway, so on my way back, the crane was being built, which was now encroached 80% of our lot, all right? For the installation, block removal, maneuvering of trailers, the access path to the beach was further blocked during the time which 2 residents and myself tried to use. Now,
I have a question right quick. Are we discussing 22B now?
we're discussing what she brought up about construction.
I'm wondering if she brought up an agenda item, and,
That's what I brought up.
well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, actually, he does have a point.
We're not supposed to be discussing agenda items during citizen comments.
Okay.
So if you have other comments on her comments, thank you, Dave. That was a point of order. Yes, okay, so I'm going to find that well founded. He's correct. We are getting into 22, so let's keep that for later because you'll have the opportunity to comment specifically on that one. I know it's related, but this is specifically on the city manager's actions in
Nothing
working on this lawsuit. Okay.
I apologize, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, no problem. Any other council members? Okay, then I'm going to go. Ms. Rodero, I'm quite familiar with the documents that you have. I've been going through the discovery, and I'm not going to be talking about my lawsuit, but I am going to be talking about behavior and what's been going on over here. So, on July 3rd, Lynn Reeves wrote to Regina Kardash, please call me at 727-229-8431. The City Council has tasked me to contact Bel Air to try and resolve all issues before the lawsuit. I had spoken to your mayor and Commissioner Bloom just prior to the lawsuit, looking forward to speaking with you. Then they go back and forth to kind of get a date, and then you get what you got, which was there was a conversation between them talking about the lawsuit and talking about settlements, okay?
Can I clarify the date that you said that happened?
Yeah, that date was,
2020?
July 3rd was when he wrote the initial letter.
2021?
July 3rd, 2021, yes, correct, okay? So, and I'm sorry, I will specify the year because we're gonna go back a year. And then, yes, Regina Kardash's bills, which I have, okay, show that there's been ongoing discussion. Now, why is that important, folks? I'll tell you why it's important. And I'm not going to tell you anything that's private. I'm not going to tell you anything that I know that you don't. I'm going to tell you what was said at the Bel Air Shore Council meeting. As part of our interlocal agreement, signed by Mike Kelly when he was mayor, and I don't know if Mr. Reeves was on that board or not, but the city council agrees to indemnify Bel Air Shore for all legal fees related to the beach access lots. Yeah. So you're talking to the attorney that wants to bill this city for their legal fees. Win or lose, by the way, folks, win or lose. Not a smart move, not a smart move, but it gets so much better. That's not all. See, we had all this talk that there was a settlement in the offing. Remember that one? Yeah, well, I made a Freedom of Information Act, also known as the Florida Public Records Request. I asked for everything that the city manager had relating to his settlement. You know what I got? I'll show it to you. One calendar entry that he called Mayor Schmidt. Yeah, that's the settlement. That explains why we never heard from Bel Air Shore, because there was no settlement. There's no paperwork, there's no settlement, there's no nothing. But there's more, folks. This is like a bad infomercial. There's more. A year ago, the previous council, when I was working with Mayor Schmidt before July 21st, when they had first passed the ordinance, I called him, because no one here knew how to get him. I got him in 20 minutes. And I got a moratorium on the enforcement of the umbrella ordinance for 1 month until July 21st, 2020. Mayor Schmidt said, let me talk to my council. He's not a strong mayor, neither am I. And I said, yeah, gotta work through our councils. The city council here on July 6th said, this is our prior council, said, we don't want the mayor representing the city. We want the city manager representing the city. I wasn't thrilled with that. He's not an attorney, doesn't know the issues, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta do what your council says. So that's what the council said. So let me tell you how your city manager represented your city and the individuals in this city. I am reading. Now remember, the meeting was July 21st, 2020. He was tasked with reaching out to them on July 6th. On July 16th, he made a phone call. I've got a letter right here. Patty, this is going to be put into the minutes. I will give you a clean copy, non-highlighted tomorrow, and we'll give a copy to every single council member, and we're going to give a copy to every single citizen in this city. I want you to hear what your city manager did. Barbara Colucci, city clerk of Bel Air Shore, wrote this to Mayor Robert Schmidt, July 16th, 11:53 a.m. Subject, July 21st meeting request from Lynn Reeves. Hi. In light of the current situation, Lynn Reeves called this morning and wondered if it would be a good idea for our town attorney to clarify jurisdictional boundaries and municipalities being able to enforce ordinances to the water. Also, clarification of not being able to lock the gates. Regina spoke to me about this already. That would be Regina Kardash. Just wondering if this can be done at the meeting. Are you ready? Lynn believes that the facts will shut people up with what they are rabble-rousing about. He sold your city out. No wonder why when we went there on July 21st, they laughed at us. The fix was in. How dare you?
Mr. Manzo, again, you're unprofessional and you don't...
No, you're unprofessional. You should be fired for this. You should be fired for this. And I'm moving that this council fire you. This is a point of order. Point of order. I have the right to ask that he be fired. So the point of order is not well-founded. I am asking this council to terminate you. This is insubordination. Unprofessional? You were sent over to defend the citizens of this city, and you sold them out. How dare you?
Joe, let's just bring it down.
I'm done.
Okay. Leslie said a point of order, but we don't know.
I've said what I had to say. I'm allowed to raise my voice.
Okay.
This is disgusting.
Okay, Joe, everybody, take a deep breath. Let's just calm down.
Who wants to speak next? And on top of that, you got the nerve to go in the newspaper and criticize me. You thought that passed me by because I was out of town? You talk about unprofessional.
Can I maybe suggest a 5-minute recess to all collect our thoughts and calm down? And
My thoughts are fine. I'm finished speaking. I had said what I said. Citizens, you like that? You still have the floor.
Is this for council or for the city?
Well, we have back and forth with Yoli Rodero. That's what I wanted to tell Yoli. So the citizens still have it. Yoli still had time. She sat down in the middle while we were debating. I don't know how much time she has left. Patty, you tell us how much time she has left.
I can talk Cuban fast.
You can just put the mic on though. Make sure we
Understand
can
it,
hear you.
but what you just referred to was a year ago, prior to your resolution. The entries that I referred to was this year. So not only was the city manager interfering a year ago, and I attended that Bel Air Shore meeting as well, and I saw the interactions between all the commissioners and the mayor and Mr. Reeves. So I know what happened at that time as well. But the entries that I brought up today happened this year, when we submitted the lawsuit, a proposal to see if we can settle this. And obviously, that interlocal agreement, as you clarify, was not the same as the one I am familiar with, but the entry also mentions settlement negotiation proposal. And I want to know what settlement negotiation is city manager having with the town of Bel Air Shores that is at all related to this lawsuit that you're not a part of. And that makes me angry. And I agree that he should be terminated because if a member of this council, whether you're elected or paid, does not serve the citizens of this city, then you don't deserve to be here. And that means you're terminated in whatever way it happens. Resignation, recall, termination, whatever. I, for one, am very angry about this. And I'm trying to really hold myself back. There have been homes that I have learned that have not sold when they learned there was a lawsuit pending, that you couldn't open an umbrella on the beach. That is the most absurd and ridiculous thing ever. But nobody talks about the property values that are going down or will go down if this continues. I, for one, will make it my mission to tell everyone about property values. And realtors have been notified. I tried to notify as many realtors because there have been deals that have fallen through. End of story.
Yoli, if you want to stay up in case anybody has any questions for you, I don't want to have you going up and down. Council, any response?
I would just like to respond. Since I've been retired, I guess people might think I have anything to do, but I've been going through all the minutes and listening to the audios of last year and that. And just for correction, I think July 6th, this council voted, 2020, I'm sorry, to have an amicable resolution done by Bel Air Shores meeting that was done on July 20th.
21st.
I believe it was July 20th, and you wanted an answer, the council wanted an answer back by the 21st. If it's off a day, it's not. Okay? And the city manager was directed to go to Bel Air Shores and work this out with the umbrellas. I'm just talking about the umbrellas, all right? I got this minutes of Bel Air Shores meeting, it's not even noted in the Bel Air Shores minutes, July 21st. It's noted in August meeting where you attended and other council members attended and spoke at the August meeting because nothing was resolved. Now,
Frank, if I might, it was July 21st, and their meetings, they may have put the wrong date on it, but the meeting minutes were actually very, very copious and very correct.
I haven't done it in August, okay, but anyway, this council seemed to be very strong in support of the residents here about the umbrella issue. All right, and I don't know how it got wavered, okay, I wasn't on council at the time, but I've been bringing up buoy issues, okay, which were removed by this city, okay, as unnecessary, all right? And just this past weekend, you should have seen some of the, in my opinion, drunks running their boats 20 yards from the beach, all right? Dangerous, very dangerous. Now, I talked to Lynn, I actually made a resolution in June, or proposed to write a resolution in June to have us pay for 5 buoys to put back in Bel Air Shores property, all right? I got called in, met with the city manager. He says he believes he can work out 2 issues. The umbrellas and the buoys. Give them some time. Mayor Schmidt will be out of town. That was in June. I think it was June 8th or 9th.
This year?
This year, okay? I gave him time. I've been fighting with the FWC, Florida Wildlife Commission, about these buoys. Because right in the buoy permit, there's 14 items. If any of them are unsafe, the permit has to be revoked. All right? I've given them videos, pictures, and everything. I got a little bit leery when I didn't hear anything back. I contacted the city manager in July. All right. Apparently, we never got a meeting with the Bel Air Shores mayor, but he did talk to Bel Air Shores council as of 2 weeks ago, I believe. If I'm wrong, Lynn, tell me, all right? And she said Bel Air Shores is not interested in putting the buoys back, which complements my theory that let's make it as dangerous as hell out there for sunbathing and swimming, okay? But Vice Mayor Roseman on September 15th, and this is noted in the minutes of Bel Air Shores, when discussing the money they were getting for the Pinellas, or pennies for Pinellas, about using that money for buoys. This is the Vice Mayor saying, hey, we have a dangerous situation here. Let's put the buoys back. Mayor Schmidt then says, well, that money's already been allocated for other things. So I have a real hard question to believe a couple things here. That I've heard for the last year that if we only would have not filed a lawsuit, or you interveners or whatever, this would have all been worked out. Excuse my French, bullshit.
Bingo.
All right?
Bingo.
All right? And that's exactly the word I need to use here. All right?
Well, I would have been more candid than that one.
Okay, because the fact of the matter is, the buoys are a safety item. It's like removing that light down here at the Causeway, all right? They weren't going to pay for it. Commissioner Bloom says, oh, it costs a lot of money. It's not going to cost you a dime. We're going to pay for it. Now, those lots, which I read earlier, are our lots. Bought and paid for. I was also told, oh, you only paid $1, you only paid $10 or whatever.
Doesn't matter.
How much was Manhattan paid for by the Dutch? They gave him some trinkets and whatever, right? I think the Manhattan right now you have to pay $580 billion for, right? Those 3 lots are our lots. This council needs to stand up and say, A, we're putting a buoy at 6th Street, we're putting a buoy at 12th Street, there is a buoy already at 17th Street, and anybody that gets fined, okay, that has an umbrella on those lots, we'll pick up the tab and we'll provide counsel, okay, because it's an unsafe item, all right, and waiting one more day, okay, because you don't know when skin cancer will attack you, okay, waiting one more day is not acceptable.
Thank you, Council Member. And that is exactly the story we've been hearing for a year. If you had waited and not filed your lawsuit, we would have settled. There are plenty of signs on 5th Street on the lawns. Stop the lawsuit. Let's talk. Bullshit is too mild a word. It is talking from both sides of your mouth. You either are with the residents or you're not. And if you're not, then stay out of the way. We'll take care of it, but just stay out.
I don't care. What I'm just trying to say is, if you drop that lawsuit, if you never filed that lawsuit, I've dealt with governments the last 20 years of my career, and I'm talking about federal to state to municipalities. Governments are famous for just pushing the agenda item and making you weary and tired and forget about it. I've seen people, I've been here a little over 7 years, I've seen people in this audience, enjoy that beach for years, and they stopped going. I was also told I'm bringing up issues that really don't impact a lot of people, okay? I don't give a crap, and that's another good word, okay? If you use the beach or not. It's your right, okay? The last word on our town is Bel Air Beach, all right? I want my taxes adjusted because I was told, well, you're taxed because of the area you live in,
Exactly.
all right? This council needs to stand up and reclaim those lots, okay? Issuing permits, and we'll get into this later, I don't have
My last comment, if you allow me, is that the problems on those lots, especially the 12th Street lot, only benefit two people. Commissioner Bloom and the new homeowner on the other side. Those are the only two people who benefit from that 12th Street lot, putting in any cranes or trucks. Commissioner Bloom thinks it's his personal parking lot for his cars and his trucks of his business. Those are the other ones. The rest of the town of Bel Air Shore does not benefit from from using those lots.
I can't comment on that.
Thank you.
Yoli, I want to play the BS Bel Air Shore card, okay? We call it the Bel Air Shore.
A sign?
Or the Barbara Streisand card. Either way, it's BS. You're an attorney, I'm an attorney. Leslie Notaro's an attorney, and so is Fred Riley, an attorney. You know damn well that the rule is, if there's settlement negotiations, they're not admissible as evidence. Don't tell me there was settlement negotiations ongoing. I did what I had to do, and so did Debbie Mall and Rick Schock. We gave the notice of lawsuit to that city. I waited an extra month and a half before filing the lawsuit to see if anyone was going to do anything. They didn't have the decency to pick up a phone and call me and acknowledge my letter. That's a fact. That's a fact. And why would they? My city manager was out selling me out. Giving bad legal advice when he's not a lawyer. Telling them it's okay to enforce the law, which they're not okay. That's our city manager, the great white hope that we sent across the street to save our skin. Yeah, great job, buddy. I'll give you a 50-point review this year. You deserve to be fired. And by the way, what Ms. Rodero said about this current information, there was a resolution passed by brought by Dave Gaddis, passed 4-2 in this council, and it said, in clear, uncertain terms, Bel Air Beach is not a party to Manzo versus Bel Air Shore. Now, we didn't need 2 hours to figure that out. It was in paragraph 2 of my lawsuit, but I guess nobody made it to paragraph 2. But had you got to paragraph 2, it said Bel Air Beach is not a party to this lawsuit, and I don't represent Bel Air Beach, and I don't represent the citizens, and I don't represent the council. And I don't represent the city. That's what it says. Go read it. And after that thing passed, you used city phone, city email, city time, and a city office to contact them to settle a lawsuit that was mine. You don't work for me, buddy. You're not in my law firm. You don't represent me. And it's defamatory for you to speak on my behalf. How dare you? Who the hell do you think you are?
Point of order.
Granted.
This is a hostile work environment.
Oh, it's not hostile.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Understand something,
Absolutely.
lawyer. I can say anything.
It's hostility towards the city manager.
Yeah.
I want it to stop
Let me give you a piece of
now.
law. Let me give you a piece of law, okay?
You are full of law.
Yeah, right, and you're full of shit.
Point of order, to our city attorney, can
You listen.
anything legally be done about this
Ms.
whole
Swope, you do
situation?
not have the floor. I
I
have the floor
call
now.
point of order on you.
Good. And I agreed on the point of order, and I'm going to explain the law. He just said it's a hostile work environment. That's what whiny guy said in December. Let me explain.
With very good reason. Very good
Oh,
reason.
yeah, really? Let me
Absolutely.
give you some more law.
Guys,
Stop you guys for a minute.
Come on,
Not
calm
interrupt.
down, enough.
I'd like to say something.
Okay, and you're going to say it after I explain Mr. Gaddis his law and his accusation.
Joe, bring it down,
Okay.
please. Calm down,
I bet you
guys.
didn't learn this in computer school, but I learned it in law school. When you're sitting in this chamber and you're discussing legislative stuff, you have what's known as legislative immunity. I could say he's incompetent. I could say he's corrupt, and there's not a damn thing he can do about it. Because trust me, if there was, he would have been sued a long time ago for the shit he said about me.
All right,
So go look that one up, and go ask your city attorney if I'm right.
can we all just calm down, please?
Yeah, we'll calm down. City attorney, you wanted to say something.
Well, I want to say a lot of things. The first one I will say is, if you're going to entertain any sort of thing related to the city attorney, the city clerk, or the city manager, my recommendation to you is to have it be an agenda item so that in a future meeting, people can come and speak pro and con, and you consider, in Lynn's case and in my case, there's a contract. So it would be prudent for the city council, if they're ever going to consider that, not to do it on the spur of the moment, but to have the contract in front of them so you could have some idea of what the ramifications would be if you ever make a change. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I've sat here for now 2 years, and the hostility level has increased throughout those 2 years, and there is a certain decorum that has to be present in a courtroom or in a local government meeting in order for people to effectively do the job that they're supposed to do. The young lady came forward and shared information with you, and it, in essence, was information that relates to the city and city business. And to me, I sit here and listened because a lot of that was news to me. I'm not aware of it, and I sat here and listened to it. I listened as a professional and listened impartially, which is what somebody should do with being presented with that information. In Lynn's case, I have to say on his behalf, he has not said a word yet concerning the things that have been said, and I don't know, but my guess would be he didn't know this was coming up, and it is in essence, for want of a better phrase, a situation where he's blindsided by something that he was not aware would be presented this evening. Me saying that doesn't say a word about the merit of what was presented. I don't know whether that's all correct or not. I'm not taking any of it as being correct, although it may be 1,000% correct. But y'all can't get things done because you can't hold a meeting without there being tremendous hostility, and it is extremely difficult to get the work done that needs to be done for the city. So Robin asked several times for a pause. I would encourage you to take a few minutes of a break and then come back and focus on doing the work of the city council and go through the agenda and address the agenda items. That's my suggestion. And I'm not supposed to be the referee as the city attorney. I've told that to you many, many times. And I sit here thinking people are expecting me to jump in and pull the combatants apart. Y'all earlier had an issue where Frank asked to put something forward, and that was a reasonable request. And as I think Robin said, you are going to, in good faith, allow him to do that. I mean, in good faith, let other people have a chance to talk and bring the hostility level down, because it doesn't make it easier to do these meetings. It makes it substantially harder.
Robin, you want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we take a 5 or 10-minute break.
10-minute break. Second?
Second.
Discussion, any? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 10-minute break, 7:13, we'll do it, make it 7:30, okay? Easier. Okay, we're back on session at 7:30. Back to citizen comments. Any other citizens like to address the council? Yes, ma'am. Well, from here, please, so we can't hear you. Sorry. We can barely hear it when the mic is working. I just need your name and...
I'm Darlene Gray at 108 12th Street. Just to say, I'm not a rabble-rouser.
Point of order. Didn't you give your minutes to Yoey?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay, point of order is well founded then, sorry. Okay, yep, sorry. Thank you.
Say what? Very.
Yeah, if you give the minutes away, then you can't come up on
Our
that.
husband gave me minutes, and I had.
If I recall, when you stepped up there, you said Darlene and Barry, you were taking
Yes,
both
I
of their minutes.
remember, thank you.
You are right,
Okay.
you're welcome.
All right, corrected, thank you. Sorry about that. All right, any other citizen comments? Yes?
I first want to mention to,
Name,
oh,
please.
I'm sorry, Jules Chandler, Hibiscus Drive West. Thank you for that, mentioning taking a break, because that was very much needed. And I was on city council, and I've been here since Kathy Mortensen was on city council, so I'm a longtime resident of Bel Air Beach. Council members do not always agree with one another, and that's fine, because you are all individual people. But I've never seen such disrespect for other council members, unless it goes that person's way, and then it's, well, clapping is not allowed, but clapping is now allowed. Or attack. It's not kind, it's not nice, and it's not acceptable. Our attorney talked about decorum. I mean, this is, Bel Air Beach it has become, and is continuing to become for the last 2 years, a laughing stock. It's a laughing stock at the Big C meetings. When you listen to people's conversations there, and it's, Councilmember Glenn Gunn wanted to talk, and you wouldn't let him talk, because it was something that you disagreed with. You don't always agree with, when I was on council, I butted heads with Mr. Gunn. And I told him, when he got on council, I said, you know, I respect you. You turned my thinking around. I was willing to have my thinking turned around. I am not so conceited to think that I am always the right one. I'm just saying, think about what you say, but, you know, it's like I would tell my children when they were younger, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. I've never seen such disgusting behavior by adults. This is my last meeting. I know Mayor, you'd be very happy with that, but, you know, I mean, some of you laughed, I know. It's funny. It's downright laughable. It's disgusting. Thank you.
Any other citizen comments? Mr. Hanson.
John Hanzig, 22nd Street. It's been several months since council reviewed a contract for audio services upgrades for this room. And council was somewhat unanimous in requesting that the city manager go back out and rebid everything to include a few other things that weren't in the original specs to be bid on. And I wonder if the city manager, in his comments at this meeting, would please give us an update as to where that process stands right now, as of this meeting, because we seem to continue to have a problem, being the fact that you gotta be within 1 inch directly in front of the microphone. You know, but like I said, it's been several months, and I've heard nothing. So, if we could get an update at this meeting.
Did you want, remember, we have an open dialogue, not just on the one issue, so Dave Gaddis, I just heard him say that he could address this, so if you'd like, I'll have him speak with you right now. Please, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Reeves and I have been working with two companies. One company is a wiring company, and the other company is on board. They are going to put in the multimedia equipment. So basically, what's happened is the goal is to put Patty's desk near that outlet there, and then put the podium near that outlet there. Oh, no, it's the other way around. okay? The wiring is the issue with the way that the floor is, okay? Encore has asked for a certain type of wiring, it needs to be a certain distance, has to be a certain depth in the floor, and basically the wiring contractor has been tasked with finding something that will not tear up this room, so we don't have to come in here with a jackhammer and basically kill the floor. So it's not real easy to find what we're looking for, but he is looking for it, and I haven't heard from him lately. Have you?
The wiring has been put in. The audio-visual, first bid was $15,000. We went back and got the second bid. And it was discussed at the budget meeting last month. There's $36,000 set up in the next year's budget for the upgrades. And that, the council discussed that last month, and we'll be doing the preliminary budget approval tonight.
It's a big deal to do, basically to do what we're trying to accomplish, which is to make sure that everyone here can hear what we're doing. People at home can look or see or hear what we're doing. And if citizens want to comment either here or from their house, we would like to be able to hear them that way also. So it's not a real simple task. It's very easy whenever it's one computer and you're sitting at your desktop at home. But whenever you're trying to entertain a large group like this, it's expensive. It requires a lot of microphones. It's a big deal. In fact, the gentleman back there running the camera could probably testify to that. It's not that easy. He wasn't paying attention, but I think he would probably agree with me.
When you said the wiring has been put in on the floor already? Okay.
And that was the holdup. That was the hard part, I think. The rest of it is just securing the equipment. That was the cheap part, but that was the harder part, I believe. Just finding the.
Did they just saw cut it? I mean,
No, there's conduits in the floor. We just had to make some changes to the brighter box lids that you see there. We had to make some changes to that and pull some wire into that room and wire up the wall. And it's been done. I think it was like $700, not much.
Now, if Encore had done that, it would have been probably quadruple that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, their initial bid was a lot higher for the wiring.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Hanzig. Anyone else? Van Stark.
Vance Foy, 7th Street, Delaware Beach. I just want to say that if citizens want to talk out, we talk about transparency, we talk about sunshine laws, and we post things in a timely manner so people have a chance to speak on issues. But when the citizens are told or even spoke to or down to and called rabble rousers, how does that make people want to speak out? How does that make people want to come to these meetings? And when did this council stop thinking about its citizens who voted them in? And just remember, if you want to be voted back in, you need to start doing the work of the city and stop trying to appease other people. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Seeing no other hands, I'm going to close citizen comments. We'll move to the presentation. Sheriff, I see two sheriffs. Someone will make a presentation tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please come up, Deputy. Sergeant, sorry.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. My name is Sergeant Randy Hart. I'm out here with the beaches. I'm new to this city. Coming out here, this is the first time I've come through here. Real quick, your city is one of the safest in Pinellas County. In the month of July, you had 5 arrests, 2 being simple batteries, 2 being DUIs, and 1 being order and prowling with a possession of control. Again, one state, city, Pinellas County. I really don't have much more to say, but just keep up the good work with your citizens.
Sheriff, I had a couple things for you. Number one, and I'm not sure if it was my copy, and I'll check with the other council members. It looks like everything got cut off on the report that we got. Did anybody else get a full report, or do we have cut off reports? Everybody's cut off? Okay, so we need complete reports, because mine ends at July 2020 year to date. I don't have a full report. So Sheriff, I'm sure you gave us one, but I think in the duplication it must have gotten truncated or something here. I have a question for you, and by the way, excellent job again with keeping the crime rate low, and that also I always compliment the citizens too, because they're your eyes and ears in the ground and let you know when something's amiss. I get, and it's available to everyone, it's nothing special that I get, but Pinellas County will send you crime reports, any city that you want. And I was looking that there's some crime reports for July 1st, July 2nd, July 20th. 2 of them are domestic violence, 1 is fraud, and none of that appears on this report here. Does this report only show, I'll say, the heavier crimes and maybe knocks out some of the lesser ones? Is that how it works?
So it's whatever's considered under the Uniform Crime Reports.
Okay.
That's what the FBI is concerned about. That's the major ones that you're going to get delivered in that graph.
Okay. So, I mean, just so the citizens know, it's still an excellent thing, but, you know, in that month, we had, the way I was reported to me, you have 2 domestic violences and 1 fraud. So, you know, there is other stuff going on in the city just to be aware of, and, you know, but I don't think it changes anything here. We still have a very good report. So, great job to you and everyone on the, in the office and the department.
All right, thank you.
Any other council comments? Any citizen questions for the sheriff? Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Item 4, we're now in a public hearing. Ordinance 2105, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing for an amendment to Section 22-33B16 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for approval of an amendment to Section 22-33B16 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for a copy to be kept on file, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. This is the second reading. The description: to modify prohibited conditions that may cause flooding and adversely affect surrounding properties. First, do I have a motion? Motion by Frank Bankert. Second?
Second.
Second, Rita Swope. Frank Bankert.
It says.
Says what it says. Any other comments from council? Citizens, any comments on this? Back to council. Frank, last word. Patty, you did advertise this, correct?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. I'll call the question. I'll reread it. Ordinance 21-05, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing for an amendment to Section 22-33B16 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for approval of an amendment to Section 22-33B16 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for a copy to be kept on file, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. Second reading. A yes vote will pass this ordinance. Patty, please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Aye.
Councilmember Notaro,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Augie,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gaddis,
Aye.
Mayor Manta.
Aye. Passes 7-0. This ordinance is now law upon signature tonight. Item 5, Ordinance 2106, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing for amendments to Section 10-2, 10-32B1, 10-32B4, 10-35, 10-37, 10-38A2, 10-7414, and 10-77.7 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for approval of amendments to Sections 10-2, 10-32B1, 10-32B4, 10-35, 10-37, 10-38A2, 10-7414, and 10-77.7 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for a copy to be kept on file, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. This is the second reading. Description: to modify the legal standards related to buildings and building regulations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Rita Swope. Second?
Second.
Second, Dave Gaddis. Comments, council, starting with Rita Swope.
Now, I'm going to go with Councilmember Banker's comment last time. It says what it says.
Okay, any other comments by council? Citizen, any comment? I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
Frank Baker?
I just want to re-interject Section 5 for John's. I think it's unnecessary language. For what be moving forward because of that. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you, Frank. This is, we asking people to hide a porta-john. Good luck with that. And if any of you are affected by it, we'll have selective enforcement perhaps where you're told to put a porta-john someplace where, say, the sun don't shine. So good luck with that.
And just a note, if the, I call them honey dippers, can't get in there to clean the porta-john out, the guy will not set one there. And I guarantee you, those men working will go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last thing you want to do is move this to the edges of your property. You leave it in the front by the roadway. Nobody smells it out there. You bring it to the back corner, everybody smells it. So bad ordinance, but anyway, it's on second reading. So that's my opinion. I'm with you, Frank. Anybody else? Citizens, get John Hanson, please.
John Hansick, 22nd Street. In this ordinance, it says, in part, lawn and/or landscape maintenance of any building or property within the city should be prohibited to 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. weekdays,
Do you
Saturdays.
mind just citing where exactly you're at so we can find it here?
On page 2 in section 2 at the very top of the proposed ordinance. I guess my main question is this. I'm too cheap to hire a lawn service. So you're telling me if this passes, I can't cut and trim my grass on Sunday?
That's the intent.
Well, the way this reads, it prohibits between the hours of 6 p.m. and 7 a.m. weekdays and Sundays. I get that. And all day on Sundays and the various holidays.
John, I'll give you plain information here. It says, such prohibition shall not prevent property owner, members of the property owner's immediate family, or anyone residing on the property from working on his or her property for construction, remodeling, alterations, repairs, general maintenance, and lawn and/or landscaping maintenance, so long as such property owner or other authorized person as aforesaid complies with all other provisions of this code, such as excessive noise or other nuisances may be applicable. So I think we're okay.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Is that let's turn to the city attorney for clarification on that. I shouldn't be making that determination. Is that what this ordinance says? This is a valid question. I cut my lawn on Sunday. I don't feel like getting a ticket.
I think that over a period of time, y'all changed this, and the clarification was added about the property owner's immediate family. So you would be able to do your lawn on Sunday, it shows.
Okay.
Property owner and their immediate family can cut their lawn, do maintenance, hang some nails, do whatever they want to do. It's the outside contractors that we're trying to stop.
Oh, I was clear about that.
Yep. Okay. I want to make sure I wouldn't vote for this if I'm not going to vote anyway. But
I mean, because Mondays is a trash day for us, and,
that's the way I read it, and
Okay.
the city attorney seems to agree, so I think we're...
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a code enforcement person working on something?
We can. It's subject. We're going to actually talk about that. I think we need to hone up how we're doing code enforcement here. But one of the whole reasons why we went to the sheriff was so that we had coverage on the weekends occasionally. We don't want to advertise exactly when they're out there, but yes, the answer is yes, they can be. So. Any other citizen comments? I'll come back to council. Last words, anyone? Okay, then I'm going to call the question. Ordinance 2106. Oh, Patty, before we do this, you have advertised this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 2106, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing for amendments to Section 10-2, 10-32B1, 10-32B4, 10-35, 10-37, 10-38A2, 10-7414, and 10-777 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for approval of amendments to Section 10-2, 10-32B1, 10-32B4, 10-35, 10-37, 10-38A2, 10-7414, and 10-777 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for a copy to be kept on file, providing for severability, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. It's the second reading. A yes vote passes this. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Gunn,
Aye.
Councilmember Notaro,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
No.
Councilmember Baker,
No.
Vice Mayor Gaddis,
Aye.
Mayor Manta.
No. So it passes 4-3, and this is now, upon signature, will become law. Okay, we now move to what was left of the consent agenda, and that is items 6 through 10. I'm going to read them, and I will entertain a motion. There will be no discussion.
6 through 11.
I'm sorry, 6 through 11, correct, Robin, thank you. There will be a motion, there will be no discussion, and then we will go to a straight vote. Okay, and I have to read them again. Okay, so item 6 is approval of July 12th, 2021 City Council meeting minutes carried over from August. I'm not going to read all of that. Approval of item 7, July 19th, 2021 budget workshop minutes. Item 8, approval of July 19th, 2021 special City Council meeting minutes. Item 9, approval of August 2nd, 2021 City Council meeting minutes. Item 10, approval of August 16th, 2021 special City Council meeting minutes. Item 11, approval of August 16th, 2021 City Council work session minutes. First, motion.
So moved.
Second, Leslie Materos first.
Second.
Second, Dave Gaddis. There's no discussion on this. I'll call the question. So we'll be voting on all items 6 through 11. A yes vote passes all of them, no vote rejects all of them. Item 6, approval of July 12th, 2021 City Council meeting minutes. Item 7, approval of July 19th, 2021 budget workshop minutes. Item 8, approval of July 19th, 2021 special City Council meeting minutes. Item 9, approval of August 2nd, 2021 City Council meeting minutes. Item 10, approval of August 16th, 2021 special City Council meeting minutes. Item 11, approval of August 16th, 2021 City Council work session minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 7-0. Consent agenda is passed and concluded. We now move what is into the, what was on consent agenda, which is now regular agenda. This begins the regular agenda. Item 12, authorize the city manager, give me 1 second, authorize the city manager to execute the contract for law enforcement services with the Pinellas County Sheriff for fiscal year 2021/22. This is to authorize the contract to PCSO for law enforcement services. It's a $522,072 contract. First, a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Swope. Second.
Second.
Second by Dave Gaddis. Rita Swope.
I'll go ahead and turn it over to the city manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is the annual contract for the sheriff's services for next fiscal year. We discussed this in the budget work session and the cost, and I'm recommending approval. The contract was reviewed by the city attorney.
Council? I'll go. This is what I want the citizens to hear. Our police services cost went up 3.6% this year. Nothing wrong with that. That's actually a little bit below the cost of living. But there has been a lot of discussion, particularly with Councilmember Aki, Brad brought this up several times, about the allocation to Bel Air Shore. And guess what? Bel Air Shore police cost went down this year. And I don't know why. I heard it at meeting. There was no information given. We know we've asked for computations on how this is computed, but I don't know why ours would go up and theirs would go down. I'm not saying theirs is wrong. I'm questioning, is ours right? So to the city manager.
Yeah, the sheriff computes that based on population. That's what they shared with me. And the computation, of course, our population is at, I think it's 1625. And so whatever the population of Bel Air Shore was, that's how they came to that number.
Did we check it? Did we recompute this? Did we verify these numbers?
I verified them with Captain Liner just to double check to make sure that that's how it was done, and he told me yes.
I'd like to see the computation. I'd like to have that given to the council.
Well, actually, a few months ago, you were given that in the budget hearing, but I'll get you another copy.
Yeah, because I wasn't aware theirs was going down. That's what's news to me, and that was at their meeting. So my question is our population, we got a lot more houses here. Our population is going to go up. They got, what, 58 houses? We're going to keep going backward against them every year.
Well, you know, how the sheriff does it is by population, that's how he does it.
Is there any other options? Why don't they do it on calls or time spent?
I thought there was an email from Captain Liner explaining that, you know,
Right.
there's some magic
There was.
formula, and calls, number of calls and contacts are in their magic formulas. I think he explained this.
Yeah, there was, you asked for that information, and Captain Liner got it. And we had this discussion if we were going to do a separate contract and pay for a full-time deputy, which we had this discussion.
Right, we decided against that.
And you decided against that. And, you know, we don't personally compute what the sheriff does. We were given what our contract numbers are, and he provides a worksheet, which was given to you at one of the budget sessions.
It would be a lot helpful when we're approving the contract to have that, even if you give it before in the budget, which is this thick, you know, that we have that information supporting that contract, rather than having to go through, you know, 3 inches, 4 inches of paper. I do remember seeing this paper coming through, but I don't remember the computation. I don't remember seeing, you know, how it actually wound up. So not a problem. That was my question. So, okay. Any other council comments? Right?
What's the alternative if we don't go with the sheriff? We have to start our own police force, correct?
You can either start your own, or you can see if someone else would do it for us. The last time we tried that was me a couple of years ago. I reached out to Clearwater. They weren't interested. I think the only other closer ones that are nearby here would be
Bel Air's the only,
Bel Air, right? And I don't
the
think
only
they,
one that you can use.
I don't think Largo is close enough to make it work. So, of course, starting our own, I think Lynn had gotten a number, and I independently computed it. We were pretty darn close on the numbers, and it was darn close to $1 million to do our own.
Over $1 million.
Yeah, so it was
So
almost
we're between a rock and a hard place.
kind of, that's what you get when you disband.
Well, when we disbanded the police department, we were spending about between $650,000 and $700,000. And the first year the sheriff came here, we were spending, I want to say it was a little under $400,000.
My point is that 3.6% isn't a heavy increase. I think there was one home torn down in Bel Air Shores, so their population might have went down. I think he was a renter. Do you know the percentage it went down over there?
No, what I recollect, and I'll dig that out and send it to all of you, but what I recollect, it was just a few numbers, and our population went up.
All right, thank you.
Citizens? No citizen comments? Back to council. Any last words? Okay, so item 12, authorize the city manager to execute the contract for law enforcement services with the Pinellas County Sheriff for the fiscal year 2021 through 2022. This is to authorize the contract to PCSO for law enforcement services, $522,072 for our sheriff. I'm going to do this as a voice vote. I believe that's okay, correct, Patty? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? 7-0, contract is approved. Item 13, authorize the city manager to execute the contract for code enforcement services with Pinellas County Sheriff for fiscal year 2021-2022. This is to authorize the contract to PCSO for code enforcement services. Motion, please.
So moved.
Rita Swope, second.
Second.
Second, Dave Gaddis. Rita?
I'll go ahead and turn it over to our city manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a request to execute the contract for fiscal year 2021 to 22. at the rate of $49.80 per hour. We have a budgeted amount of $52,000 where the sheriff's deputy will be here more often. And we will rotate, to the question earlier, some Sundays and weekdays with him.
Council, any other comments, questions? Citizens? Council, last word?
Yeah, I think these guys work too cheap. Want to talk to your FOP about it?
Frank, don't tell them that. They'll raise the price. Okay, any other comments? All right, item 13, authorize the city manager to execute the contract for code enforcement services with Pinellas County Sheriff for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. Yes, vote passes this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? 7-0 passes. Item 14, authorize the city manager to execute an extension to the memorandum of understanding for accounting services. Explanation, authorize an extension and a 3% increase of the MOU with Andrew Tess CPA for accounting services. Motion?
So moved.
Ms. Swope, second.
Second.
Gaddis. Ms. Swope.
Again, I'll turn it over to the city
Ben
manager.
Reeves.
Yes, this is a request to authorize the extension of the MOU with the accounting services we currently use. In their original agreement, they had it stipulated a 3% increase. That's all they're asking for. And I think this has been very effective over the last 2 years that we've used them. And it has been an improvement in the accounting and budgeting, plus saved the city well over $70,000 total. So this is a good thing.
You're very satisfied, and I think everyone else working here is satisfied with their services, correct?
Yes.
We have no reason to bid this out at this point in time, correct?
No.
Okay. Do we feel that this is a competitive price?
Yes, I do feel, there's only a couple people that do this, and we would have to go back. We'd either have to go back to a person like we had, or we'd have to try to find another company that might do it. So I think this is fair.
You don't think, and I don't want to make a move necessarily just because of cost savings when we're satisfied with somebody. Example, when we talk about the garbage folks, we pay them a little bit more than the others because they do excellent work. I think I've always heard that these folks have done excellent work. I have not heard anything to the contrary. Have you?
No. And if we call them and need something on a day that they're not here, they'll either come here or we'll do it remotely. So I think it's a good situation.
Okay. Council, any other comments? Citizens? Back to council. It's an authorization for the city manager to execute an extension to the memorandum of understanding for accounting services. Authorize an extension and a 3% increase of the MOU with Andrew Tess CPA for accounting services for the coming year. Do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? 7-0, it passes. That contract is approved, or memorandum of understanding is approved. Item 15, authorize the city manager to execute an interlocal agreement with the Building Division of Pinellas County Building and Development Review Services Department. Authorize contract with county for permit services. Motion, please.
So moved.
Ms. Swope, second.
Second.
Second, Leslie Nataro. Rita?
I'll go ahead and turn it over to the city manager.
Lynn?
Yes, the new building official of Pinellas County has asked for the interlocal agreements to be updated. The only change to our interlocal agreement is that they will no longer participate in our variance requests, where typically they were part of the Board of Adjustment. That will be something that we'll have to do in-house or we'll use our engineer to do. But other than that, it's the same interlocal agreement that the last one was executed in 2015, and this is just a re-extended. They do all our building services, permits, and things of that nature.
So that was the question I had for you, because I noticed that, and I know in coming to the Board of Adjustment hearings, they would always be here. So who takes their place? Now, we have to go out and pay for it, or is that something that the person doing the application would pay for that engineer to come here?
Well, we would probably use who we're using for site plan engineering to to give us a comment, so there would be a cost there. But on the other hand, we charge a fee for a variance. And I think, I feel pretty comfortable that we can, the amount of fee that we collect, we can absorb that. It's not going to be an excessive expense to the property.
Please monitor that. If it becomes an issue, come back and we'll adjust the fee.
Yeah.
Because we shouldn't lose on this, and I did note that they, because I remember the man used to be right here, and, he would give whatever advice was necessary. Now, I guess there's nothing stopping, since this is a quasi-judicial thing, they could, I guess, if they really wanted to, subpoena the person to come in, but that's up to the applicant, not up to us. We don't need that person, other than having, the engineer could probably take their place, is what you're saying.
Right, and realistically, in the past, all the county really did was verify what we'd already verified. As an example, if it was a dock permit, and it was X amount of feet, they would come in and our site plan engineer would deny it, and if it was closer than it was supposed to be, and then we would just ask the county for their input on it to verify that we were following the ordinance correctly.
Fair enough.
I don't think it's gonna.
Okay, monitor. Just let us know. If if we lose on the first one, we know, and then we fix it the next time.
Right.
Easy enough. Any other comments, questions? Citizens, any comments? Back to council. Any last words? Item 15, authorize the city manager to execute an interlocal agreement with the Building Division of Pinellas County Building and Development Review Services Department. Yes vote passes this. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? 7-0, it passes. That city manager, you're authorized to proceed. Item 16, authorize the city manager to execute contract addendum for residential, single-family, multifamily residential complex solid waste collection services. Contract addendum with Waste Management, Inc. of Florida. Motion, please.
So moved.
Rita Swope, second.
Second.
Thank you. Leslie Natero. Rita Swope,
I'll go ahead and turn it over to the city manager.
city manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is extension, well, the contract's there, this is just an increase in charges to us. We do not have to increase any fees for our residents. We'll be able to absorb them into the current trash collection fee that we already charge. But they have an option in their contract that they can increase it 4% per year, which there's some backup in here that shows you their calculations. And also, they have if the tipping fees at Pinellas County go up, they can charge us a little more for that, if the tipping fees. So what they've estimated the cost to be in the back, if you look at it, CPI index increase that they're asking for is the 4%, which is the maximum, even though the CPI changed 5.79%. When we did this contract a couple of years ago, we negotiated that limit so it couldn't go above it. A couple of years ago, the inflation rate, so they didn't get any increase. Last year they did, and this year, of course, they're authorized to do it. So I think the service has still been good, and I don't think we have an issue with waste management, so I'd recommend approval of the contract.
Did they absorb, did you not absorb this last year? We were able to absorb this without a rate increase, I believe, right?
Yes.
Now, are you saying you're going to be able to do that again this year?
Just barely.
Barely?
Just barely.
Okay. Did you check, I know the CPI numbers are CPI numbers, that's from the government, but I know we have an option of checking these tipping fees and dumping statistics. Do we do anything on that?
Yeah, the county sends that out to all the cities when they increase the fees.
Okay, so that comes directly from the county?
Right.
Okay, so we're not taking Waste Management's word on it, we're getting that from the county? Okay, that's my question. So there's going to be, their price is going up, but the citizens should not see an increase.
No increase.
Excellent. How do we not vote for that? Any council comments? Citizens? Frank, you still think it's too low? I'm just kidding you.
I have my own versions of waste management.
Okay. All right. Any other last comments? Item 16, authorize city manager to execute contract addendum for residential, single-family, multifamily residential complex solid waste collection services. This is a contract addendum with Waste Management Inc. of Florida. Yes vote passes this. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? 7-0 passes. City manager, you're authorized to proceed. Okay, back into the regular agenda, now on to the taxes. So we are, item 17, that is this tax package here. Consideration of adoption of proposed ad valorem millage rate for FY 2021-2022. This is the first public hearing on setting proposed final millage rate for FY 2021-2022. City manager, there used to be a dialogue that I had to read. Did we have that? Where is it?
At the bottom of the memo, the...
17, where it says the proposed millage rate?
Yes.
Okay. I'm reading that now?
No.
First, we're getting a motion, right?
Yes.
Okay, motion, please.
So moved.
Rita Swope, second.
Second.
Dave Gaddis, open for discussion on the taxes.
Yeah, I would like to say, with the staff's recommendation, and we've all talked about this in the budget meetings, I'm going to go ahead and say that we should stick with the 2.0394.
Council? Looking for my page here. All right, I've never voted for a tax increase, and I'm not going to start this year. This is a 7.5% increase in budget. Our CPI, we just heard, was 5.79, so why can't our city live within the same budget that the rest of the world lives in? For those of you on Social Security, of which I'm one, you did not get a 7.5% increase last year. Let me give you a little history of how this city spends your money, okay? In 2013, our net revenue was $733,178. 2014, $824,897. 2015, $876,760. 2016, $933,197. Listen, folks, it keeps going up and up and up and up until this year it's at $1,251,815. Taxes have increased 70%. Spending has increased 70% since 2013. And none of your wages increased like that. None of your cost of living's increased like that. Anybody who gets any kind of kicker onto their Social Security or anything else didn't get that. We play this game. We play this shell game. We keep your millage the same. Yes, we do. We have done that for since 2013. And every year your property values has gone up. Now that's great. I'm glad property values is going up. But the property values is doing the dirty work. This is a multiplication formula, and if you remember from 3rd or 4th grade math, okay, A times B equals C. Well, whether you raise A or B, you're still paying it in C, and C is your taxes. Your taxes are going up. It's the millage that stays the same, but your property values go up. And the haul from this city, like I say, 2013 we ran the city with 733,000. Now it takes us $1,251,000. And what's really disappointing is that our friends in Washington are sending us like $800,000 this year to use for our infrastructure. So I don't want to hear that this is like for the, going to be to cover all these capital projects. And if you forgot, there was a stormwater fee tacked onto that garbage bill that you get every month. Okay, that takes care of your stormwater. Tax increase, tax and spend, tax and spend. I'm not for it. I'm not voting for it. Jody Shirley used to be with me on this. I hope there's others that will join me. I'm not voting for this. Anyone else at council?
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. The way Florida works, as you stay with the taxes or with the property versus, your taxes, I don't think there should be a need for any increase.
And that's called the rollback rate. So we have the option of going to the rollback rate, which says we live with what we brought in last year, and we make some strategic cuts. Maybe we don't buy that $56,000 sign for outside. Maybe we don't piss away some of this money like we like to do. Frank Bankert said we shouldn't be in the business of doing festivals. You know what? When we were doing them for free, I had no problem with it, but I joined him. We shouldn't be spending thousands of dollars for this. We're not in the entertainment business. We're a city. Not big enough to do this kind of stuff. But if we can get sponsors, then let's do it. So I'm not voting for this. Thank you, Mr. Bankert. Anyone else? Going good.
I'm in support of keeping the millage rate the same. I mean, we just discussed a 3.6 increase in the sheriff office contract there. To think that the housing market is going to continue to increase, obviously it's not. That's the reality of the situation. We have seen detrimental budgets here when the housing market decreased. So if you roll this thing back now because you're afraid of a tax increase, how are you going to explain it when you do have to really increase taxes to cover the city expenses? We spent 3 work sessions trying to trim the budget, and you were there in all those discussions, so, I mean, we're all duplicit in maybe not controlling those expenses to meet your expectations. But the reality of the situation is our expenses are not frozen in time. They're continuing to go up. And to think that we can just freeze our revenues or roll them back and cover all the expenses, I think it's up to the residents to be stakeholders in making this city continue to move forward and prosper and do the things we want to do and make it a premier city. I am not in favor of rolling back this millage rate. Thank you.
If housing goes down like it did in 2008, then we can readdress it. I don't see a crash of the market coming within the year. I believe that our tax base is always a year behind anyway. So, what's the average age of this town? 58, 57?
55 and up.
55. Okay, a lot of retirees, fixed income. I just don't support any kind of tax increase.
You know, you want to start cutting money, cutting optional stuff. How many of you all have a gas generator at your house? I'll put my hand down, I don't have one. My lights go out, we go dark, we get hot. That's the way it goes. We're gonna put one in here for $100,000+. There's $100 grand. There's your savings. Just hold back on spending that capital money. There you go. We don't even have to lay a person off. We don't have to cut hours. We don't have to take out the pencil and really sharpen it, which we could do if we want to as a council. Okay? We said we wouldn't increase the tax rate, but today the rubber meets the road. Okay? When we put the last budget hearing through, we said the way things work, whatever you tell the county, you're locked into that, and that's what you get on your trim notice. That's the highest we can go. So we can't go higher than the millage rate that we have here. But we can go lower. So I'm saying go lower. Leslie?
True, we can go lower at the final budget hearing in September 20th. We can't go, if we go back to the rollback rate, we can go below that, but we can do this, we can always go back lower later. And I don't think it makes sense to do the rollback rate at this point. We've never done it that way before.
I'd like to have comments.
It's
This
just a
is
little-
exactly the same argument we had last year. What we're doing is we're playing it safe. This is the proposed millage rate, and it's better to be somewhere where we have a little bit of a safety net, rather than to roll it back to a value that if something happens, we can't dig out of. We have this same one every year. We're not increasing your taxes. Your property value does go up. We'll just wait and see what happens.
Oh, I beg to differ. You are increasing taxes. You're not increasing the millage rate. But as I gave the example, A times B equals C. A being the millage rate, B being the value of your house. Your house value has went up. Your taxes are going up unless you roll back the millage rate. That's the rollback rate. We can come to the same number that we had last year, but we don't want to. Uncle Joe has given us $800,000, folks, $800,000 to use for infrastructure and stormwater. You hear anybody up here talking about, like, knocking off your stormwater fee? We can do that. But I don't hear it. So I want to hear from the council and I want to hear from the citizens. Your taxes are going up. Listen, it's not going to break you, okay? It's another 10, 15 bucks, whatever it's going to be for the basic house, and the higher, nicer houses are going to pay a little bit more. But it's going up every year, folks. Every darn year. Tax and spend. I'm tired of it. I'm not voting for it. Yes, sir. Well, but before, just 1 second. We had no other council comments?
Mayor and Council, Ron Scannick, down Island Drive. Just want to remind you, I was part of the Citizen Finance Committee, and we spent a lot of time digging deep into the finances of the city. I strongly support holding the millage rate the same. I think a lot of actions that the city's taken, such as increasing the fees at the marina for the rental charges, have gone up. It's just a natural thing that costs are going to go up. So I think protecting this, nobody planned for your Uncle Joe gift, and so let's use that as a gift and sock it, use it for the infrastructure. And if we save money, we've got into reserves over the last few years, so I'd recommend keeping it where it is. Let's remind everybody, the county did roll back their rate, so it's probably a net offset. So it's a flat for the whole, between what the county's given up and what we're holding flat. So that's my position.
Thank you. Citizens, any other comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Jeff Keith, Harbor Drive. I keep hearing about this value increase, and I look at my new assessment, and it comes up $100,000 less than last year. Does anybody else see anything like that?
A lot of it has to do with what your neighbors are doing. That your property value is adjusted accordingly. It's just,
The overall millage, the overall value for our, we get this from the tax collector, and the tax property is appraised at the beginning of the year. We look at the whole city, not each individual house. So yours might have went down, somebody else's went up, perhaps there was a change or something incorrect. It's based on your individual assessment, but overall, the city's went higher. So yours will probably go, your tax will probably go down, but don't tell anybody.
That's the second part of the question, is the taxes won't go down because it's a recapture on homestead.
Well, that's
so they don't go down. Regardless of the value going up, our values keep rising whether we raise the millage or not. So my taxes will go up, my value went down. That's my point.
You're correct. There's a Save Our Homes cap, and you have it's limited to 3% every year. So we've been getting increases of 4%, 5%, 6%. If you've been here for some time, which I think you have, you're under, and so am I. So I've been here for a while, and so there's a lot of people who lived here. And even if the property values went down, like if the market crashed, you still could be going up for a little while until you get equilibrium. So
right.
Yes.
Well, mine's going down now,
right.
And I'm going up. But that's just the point. I saw my property go down 50% from the time I bought it, and then it came up well above that. So, okay, thanks.
Nope, you're correct on that. Yes, sir.
Let's take the on 121 12th Street. I think Mayor Mansour has the right idea here. The mill rate in and of itself and the property value, the ultimate tax in and of itself is not necessarily the point. I think the point is we should live within our means. Why should we keep on looking at getting more money into the city just to spend it? I know there are projects that need to be done, there are services that need to be provided, but at the same time, the mindset should be to bring that in. Why should it go up and up and up all the time? I come from Sweden. I've lived under very high taxes. Same things happen over there, and you don't get money back that you give to the government. There's an inefficiency there. So I want to keep my money and make choices on my own. I understand that we live in a community, we need to help each other. There are certain services that we need to provide. So I'd rather talk about what can we cut that is inefficient than the millage rates and values and process.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Seeing no other hands, I'll close citizen comments and bring it back to council for final comments. Right.
How much money did we used to get in those beach lots for fines and revenues that we're not getting now?
I couldn't give you a specific number, because at the time that they were doing that, a lot of those tickets were being sent to the sheriff's office. We didn't take that in-house till I was here like a year, and I said, I'm not getting any money from parking tickets, and I said, I'll just collect them ourselves. But you know, it was, I think we did a study, but I don't recollect the number. It might have been $1,000 or $1,500 that we could have got.
Council, any other comments?
Yes.
Yes, Glenn.
The portion of the taxes that you pay on property, correct me, but my understanding is only 12% of the property taxes that you pay on your home goes to the city of Delaware Beach. Everything else goes to the county. Okay, so only 12% comes back to the city. Now, we talk about the increases of our home values, and that's taking place, and that's a good thing. But I think it's narrow-minded to think that that's just because of whatever you're doing on your property is increasing those property values. And I think you are a stakeholder in making this a prosperous, desirable city to live in. And that's what's driving the property values here. So I think it's incumbent upon everybody to be a stakeholder in that and pay a fair share in that. And to think that we can just enjoy the increases in property values and not have to pay out or address the expenses. Again, I go back to the duplicity of this council. We've had 3 budget work sessions and we had our opportunity to trim those expenses. Yet here we are. And again, once again, we're just talking about trimming the military. I don't agree with that. I still don't. Thank you.
You know what's ironic? We heard that the county is using the rollback rate. County figured out how to do it. Anybody think Pinellas County's not a well-run county? Got all kinds of problems with it? Tell you what, Pinellas County runs pretty darn good, particularly when you compare it against the other counties. They do a darn good job. In fact, every month at the mayor's council meeting, there's a county commissioner, and almost unanimously, and this is hard to get all mayors to agree on anything, there's compliments. And it's not a political thing because sometimes it's a Democrat, sometimes it's a Republican. It doesn't seem to matter. Everybody's pretty satisfied with the work that's happening with the county. That goes for the Board of Ed too. They've been doing a really good job, the education department. So they figured out how to do it. We can figure out how to do it. We cut this thing in one night if we have to. So I don't buy that we can't go back and fix this. We can fix it right now.
Are there other municipalities rolling back their millage rates? I don't believe so. Not what I've read in the newspaper.
Very few, if any.
Okay, any other council comments? And let's call the question. And we're going to do this by roll. I want this recorded. So this is consideration of adoption of the proposed ad valorem millage rate for FY 2021 through 2022. Now, Lynn, you want me to read that little?
No.
No?
The staff, just where it says recommendation?
Yeah.
That's what you agreed.
I'm reading your staff I'm reading your recommendation?
Oh, yeah. You're right, the dark.
The dark?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I have to add. The proposed millage rate of 2.0394 mils, which is higher than the rolled back rate by 7.04%, is to fund the expenses of the general fund for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2021 and ending September 30th, 2022. The final approved millage rate for the City of Delaware Beach will be presented at a second and final public hearing that will be held on Monday, September 20th, 2021 at 5:05 p.m. We're now calling the question. A yes vote gets you the 2.0394 millage rate with the property values as what the tax assessor determined them. Patty Gentry.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
just for clarification, the 2.0394 is the current millage rate.
That is correct, and the rollback rate would be 7.04% lower than that. So that's what we're debating right now. The proposal is to adopt the 2.0394 current millage rate, not the rollback rate. Taxes are going up if you adopt this rate, overall for the city, okay? Yes,
Is it too late to debate what the question is?
I just called the question. I mean, go ahead.
Well,
I'm not going to recall the question.
okay,
From the quick, go ahead.
the idea would be, can we split the baby? Take that 0.7, roll it back 0.35.
We could,
In this session, or does it have to go over?
no, if this is the session, I mean, you can make an alternate proposal if you want. We're ready to call this question,
Is
but
that too late?
nope, not yet. Well,
Yeah,
I'm going to turn to the city attorney. I just called the question.
All right.
And we haven't voted yet. He ended debate, he just called the question, now he's asking if he can make an amendment. I don't know that he can at this point. I just called the question.
You called the question, you should now procedurally go to the vote.
That's what I thought.
If it fails, then you can now consider what to do next.
Absolutely. Okay. So Patty Gentry, does anybody want me to reread any of this?
No.
We're clear, this is important. Patty?
Councilmember Notaro,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
No.
Councilmember Baker,
No.
Councilmember Gunn,
aye.
Vice Mayor Gaddis,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
No. So 4-3, it passes. First reading, or first hearing. Second hearing will be September 20th, 2021 at 5:05 p.m. If it passes then, that will be the tax rate. We move to item 18.
Wait a minute. According to the memo, it says upon adoption of the motion, the mayor will announce. And that's where you have to read the announcement, which is the language in bold.
Just read that before we call the
Yeah,
question.
you need to read it after it's adopted also.
Okay. All right. Proposed millage rate of 2.0394 mils, which is higher than the rollback rate by 7.04%, is to fund the expenses of the general fund for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2021 and ending September 30th, 2022. Final approved millage rate for the city of Bel Air Beach will be presented at a second and final public budget hearing that will be held on Monday, September 20th, 2021 at 5:05 p.m. Yes, that concludes this. Okay, item 18. Consideration of approving the City of Bel Air Beach budget making for certain expenditures, expenses, capital improvements, and certain indebtedness for the year beginning October 1st, 2021 and ending September 30th, 2022. This is the submittal of the proposed budget. First, a motion.
So moved.
Leslie Notaro makes that motion. Second.
Second.
Second, Rita Swope. Leslie?
I will turn it over to
City Manager? City Manager Reeves?
Yes, Mayor, this is the budget that we discussed at 3 different budget work sessions, and you had some revisions of the July 19th and August 16th, and I'll just highlight those. We increased contractual service with the sheriff for $52,000. We decreased staff and code enforcement by $39,620. We increased the audio visual upgrade $6,000 to make it a total of $36,000. In capital projects, we increased the generator $40,000, increased property and liability insurance $4,100 in non-departmental, decreased personnel services in non-departmental $22,392, deleting the part-time administrative assistant. We increased the insurance in the marina fund of $600, and we changed the stormwater fund as follows. The increased stormwater expense, $100,000 for that mandated state bill, House Bill 53 that we'll have to put out to bid. The effect of all of these changes for the budget year FY 2021-22 consisting of $5,093,330, $2,819,330 in the fund, $86,680 in the marina fund, $594,130 in the stormwater fund, and $1,593,190 in the capital projects fund. Just to clarify that large number in the capital project, it's budgeted because it's the Pinellas, penny for Pinellas money that's for the Belt Boulevard undergrounding which is 900,000 of that. So that number's, so staff respectfully request that the city council approve the 21-22 budget, including the capital plan. A copy of the budget was provided you with the changes attached for your review. The Florida Department of Revenue requires specific language and procedures when approving the budget. So,
I got
start
it
there.
We're only going to read it once this time, though, because it looks like I only have to do it after the motion, which makes no sense, but we should do it before. Okay, council comments first, starting, council comments, it's open.
I think it's pretty clear in the budget, we've gone over it multiple times at multiple hearings, and I think Lynn's put a good description in here of what the changes are, and I believe we should approve it as presented.
Council? Again, I can't support this, okay? Because to support this is to support the tax increase. And I'm not going to support the tax increase, and I'm not going to support this budget. Not that it's so wrong, but it can be tighter, and so I'm going to be voting for this one. Any other council comments? Citizens? No citizen comments. Back to council. Last word, Leslie Notaro, if she wants one.
Let's go for it.
Okay, you got it. Item 18 is consideration of approving the City of Bel Air Beach budget, making for certain expenditures, expenses, capital improvements, and certain indebtedness for the year beginning October 1st, 2021 and ending September 30th, 2022. Patty, please call the roll. A yes vote passes this.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Baker, Councilmember Gunn,
Aye.
Councilmember Notaro,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gathers,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Nay. So it's 5-2. This passes, and now let me read what I have to read. The final approved budget for fiscal year 2021 through 2022 for the City of Bel Air Beach will be presented at a second and final public hearing that will be held at the Community Center on Monday, September 20th, 2021 at 5:05 p.m. We move on to item 19. Consideration of Ordinance 2107, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach providing for an amendment to Section 18-5 of the City Code of Ordinances pertaining to time for qualifying, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for approval of an amendment to Section 18-5 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for a copy to be kept on file, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. The explanation is to amend the 2022 municipal election qualifying dates due to holiday schedule and the Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections schedule. Motion, please. Rita Swope. Anyone else? Second?
Second.
Second, Leslie Notaro. Rita?
It's Rita. I'll go ahead and pass it on to the city manager.
Actually, this is an ordinance to amend the qualifying dates for the election period. Patty worked with Fred to provide this ordinance to bring it forward. So it's just a modification because if we used our current dates, we would be having qualifying on is it Christmas Day it went to? Something like that. So we moved it back a couple days. That's all we're asking for.
County has no issues with that?
No, as long as it's ordinance.
Did we always have a 7-day qualifying? I thought this used to be a little bit longer. It was 7?
Yeah,
All right. Any other council questions? Citizen, any comments? There being none, any final council comments? Consideration of Ordinance 21-07, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing for an amendment to Section 18-5 of the City Code of Ordinances pertaining to time for qualifying, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for approval of an amendment to Section 18-5 of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for a copy to be kept on the file, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. The yes vote passes this. This is the first reading. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Aye.
Councilmember Notaro,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gavos,
Aye.
Mayor Randall.
Aye. So it passes 7-0. First reading is complete. Patty, you will advertise it, and we'll be back next council session, next regular council session. Item 20, consideration of ordinance 21-08, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach providing for an amendment to section 2-63D of the City Code of Ordinances pertaining to addressing City Council, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for approval of an amendment to section 2-63D of the City Code of Ordinances, providing for a copy to be kept on file, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. This is to allow discussion of pending litigation and prospective litigation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Dave Gadd, second.
Second.
Second by Rita Swope. Dave?
Why on earth are we rehashing section 2-63? In January, Fred Riley went into great detail to explain how section 2-63 legally protects our city and how we already are able to address prospective and pending litigation. The state of Florida recognized that its sunshine law was problematic for elected officials concerned with litigation. To address the problem, the Florida legislature amended the sunshine law to allow government bodies to meet in private to discuss pending litigation. In January, Fred Riley detailed the shade meeting process and how it is used to discuss pending litigation. If you recall, we recently had a shade meeting to discuss pending litigation. Section 2-63 was never mentioned, and the meeting was held without ever being challenged. In January, Mr. Riley also told us exactly why Section 2-63 was put into place. He made it very clear that discussing any litigation in public meetings is dangerous. Why would any council member want to put this city in danger? From a constitutional perspective, most would agree that as citizens, Section 2-63 tramples on our First Amendment rights. As council members, however, is free speech from the dais in the city's best interest? When dealing with prospective or pending litigation, I would say that it is not. As elected officials, we must hold ourselves to a higher standard. Florida's sunshine law expects it, and our code of ordinances expects it. Back in January, our city attorney conveyed that same message of holding us to a higher standard. He said that as council members, we had an obligation to protect the interest of the city. As you may know, this debate over Section 2-63 was recently sparked back to life when a council member attempted to create a resolution based around current pending litigation. In the city's best interest, Section 2-63 prevented the resolution from ever making it to the council for debate. It did its job. So how do we handle prospective litigation? The drafters of Section 2-63 realized that discussions of prospective litigation in public meetings could also be perilous. Mr. Riley told us how he handles prospective litigation simply by contacting each of us individually with the same details and recommended courses of action. Allowing discussions of prospective or pending litigation in public meetings can have devastating effects on our city and council with little or no warning. A council member may not realize that he or she has been baited to say the wrong thing until after the words have been spoken. By then, it's too late. As Mr. Riley has implied, Section 2-63 was designed to protect us from ourselves. Therefore, this rule should remain as it is currently written. It gives the city attorney and the chair full authority to rule out of order when necessary, which prevents the possibility of admissions against interest. As council members, we are obligated to protect our city. Section 2-63 was added years ago for that very reason, to protect our city. Today, I'm asking each of you to do what is best for our city by voting no on this ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, any other council? I'm done.
I'll defer to the mayor.
So what is in the city's interest to stop stifle First Amendment rights, that's okay. This city just doesn't learn, does it? Didn't I read you twice federal constitutional law, section 1983? Didn't 4 of you get that mailed right to your house? And a bunch of other people in the city see it? Just because it's convenient or the city doesn't like what might be said, you don't lose your First Amendment rights when you become an elected official. Period. No exception. Now, if you're so darn concerned about declarations against interest, why don't you deal with the city employees? I'm not going to talk about lawsuit. I'm going to read what was in the newspaper. Glenn Reeves. He stressed, however, that the city council members were within their right to essentially fire Van Scoy. She took the position on the Parks Board and acted like she was a city employee. Then she tried to use her position to get people who worked in another city to be fired. That's not what you do, Reeves said. Reeves, the city manager, who never went to law school, who doesn't speak for this city, just made a damn declaration against interest that buried this city. And you people who are in this lawsuit should be screaming right now, because he did not help your case by saying that. He's factually wrong, and he's legally wrong. That's all we'll talk about. I brought a motion, and I'll tell you what the motion was about. The motion was to have the 3 people that were on this council, Glenn Gunn, Dave Gaddis, and Rita Swope, voluntarily resign. We can't force you to resign. It was a motion to ask the people to resign. And I was stopped from bringing it. My First Amendment rights were trampled. 1983. Sound familiar? You're going to get a second suit out of your first lawsuit if you keep it up. This was a compromise. That's what this was. And I said it last time, and it's in the minutes that we just passed with Patty. This was a compromise for me to withdraw that motion, to allow the elected officials not to have to deal with an unconstitutional law. We can talk about this all we want. You can't enforce this law. But in the interest of having sanity and having meetings that run right, we want to get this right. Now, with regard to the shade meeting, that was an illegal meeting. The city attorney didn't say anything about it. I didn't really realize it until later on this. We shouldn't have had the shade meeting because the rule says you're not allowed to discuss litigation. Period. Shade meeting, sure. The state says you can do this in the shade, and by that I mean we all get together, we dismiss everyone from here, we bring a court reporter in, there's a record taken of what we said, but it doesn't become evidence until after the case is settled or tried. It allows the council to settle cases, it allows the council to determine strategy. As a matter of fact, with this declaration against interest, I'm going to be asking for a shade meeting so that we can go over proper strategy for our employees. I want the 2 attorneys to come here and explain why we shouldn't be making statements like this, because it's detrimental to our city. Don't tell me I'm trying to help June. This doesn't help June one bit.
Mayor, can I say a few comments?
When I'm finished, you can, sure. Okay, but right now I have the floor. I'll recognize you as soon as I finish. Okay? This was a compromise. If you want to change your law that's unconstitutional, change it. If you want to vote it down, that's fine. You do what you do, and I'll do what I do. But I know my motion didn't get heard. It got shot down before it ever saw the light of day. And for the record, city manager had no problem with that. City attorney told me that I would possibly be facing charges. Well, I can't, as an attorney, be facing charges. So I can't do the civil disobedience thing. I wish I could, but I can't. But there's other ways to take care of this. You stopped me from talking. That you don't get to do. Not if it benefits the city, not if it hurts the city. You don't stop your city manager from talking. I urge you to pass this, and as I said, I am a man of my word. I will drop the motion. I don't intend to bring that motion. This was a compromise, but I want this law fixed. You don't want to fix it? No problem. No problem. Fred Riley. Well, there will be a problem, but no problem tonight. Mr. Riley.
Okay, well, I'll make several comments. One is, I sit here and listen, and I purposely don't interrupt elected officials because it's my understanding that elected officials need to have, as long as it's a sunshine meeting, the opportunity to say things to each other. And I don't prejudge what y'all are going to say to each other. That's the reason why I don't interrupt people constantly. And as I've told you many times, that's not my role. My role is not to sit here and be the referee for the 7 of you. That's up to y'all. Again, at times I don't know what to do with this group of people. It is the attorney. I'll say a few things. One, today the current law is in effect, so I would suggest to the council you shouldn't discuss any pending litigation. So that's a blanket statement. If you choose to ignore it, then that's up to you. But I strongly encourage you to not discuss pending litigation. So that's one foundation point. The other thing is, I can give a long, detailed explanation of the resolution that I was asked to draft, but I'm not going to do that. I wrote a lengthy email. If you want to know what that was all about, you can read the email. It's a public record. The short version of the resolution is that it did ask for people to resign. And I presented in the email, which was a legal opinion, why I recommended that the person that asked for that resolution reconsider it. And I did that consistent with the Florida Bar Rule that I'm supposed to apply, and I applied it. I've mentioned the rule numerous times. It's in the email. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it is a very important rule, and I followed it to the T. Lynn did not step in and do anything other than talk to me about the resolution that I was asked to prepare. I dutifully prepared it, and then I presented it to the person that asked for it to be prepared, and I presented it to Lynn and gave my recommendation on this is something that I recommend you reconsider. Subsequent to that, there was a discussion about amending the city code, and I prepared an amendment which you have before you, and the amendment to the city code is to clarify something so there is no mistaking whether you're complying with Florida law or not. And to me, this was a good solution because it addressed a problem. At that time, when I prepared this ordinance, I said there's a far easier way to solve this issue. It's to make sure that the city code provision is absolutely consistent with Florida law. That's what I did. So getting off the deep end into the constitutional issues, I'm not going to say those don't matter. They certainly do matter. But I'm saying I wrote this so that you had a simple, straightforward way to address the problem and make sure you're acting consistent with Florida law, and that's what I did. I did not go into extended analysis related to constitutional law issues because I felt this was a far more direct and simple way to address a problem. So that's what I did. In addition, with respect to prospective litigation, I still have serious concerns about that, but I drafted language that I thought would give the city council some parameters so that if you ever had a situation that the city council needed to talk about a potential lawsuit, you would have at least some basis to do that. So that's where this lies. Dutifully impressed with Vice Mayor Gaddis's research on all the things that I said. It sounds like I did a pretty good job. But to me, this is a reasonable thing to consider, and I think it's something that the city council should consider. And I'll certainly stand for any questions that you may have.
Questions for Fred Riley, and then we'll come back to general discussion. Questions for Mr.
I'm
Riley?
good.
Frank Banker, then Rita Swope.
So, Mr. Riley, you're comfortable with section 2D and the whole entire ordinance as
The new version?
yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Rita Swope.
So you're comfortable with the new version, but yet you are recommending we do not discuss pending litigation, of which I don't feel like we should either. Another concern I would have is what if it's one of the council members' family or significant other or whomever is the one filing the lawsuit, and then we're gonna sit up here and award them the money? That would definitely, in my opinion, be a conflict of interest. And I also don't know off the top of my head, nor would I, the cost that you incurred to work on that resolution when you simply could have just asked, because I would have told you, no, I will not voluntarily resign. And you could have saved the city attorney's time, energy, and the taxpayers some money for the city attorney.
But that would be a sunshine violation, Rita, and you know it. Nice try.
I did the same thing that I've done other times. I asked Lynn, what is the procedure you followed in the past? And him and I talked about the resolution that one of the council members asked to have, or not resolution, in this case ordinance. No, I'm sorry, about the resolution, and I did what I would, after discussing it with Lynn, did what I was asked to do. And then I went the extra step and also did what I'm obligated to do ethically, which is address the ethical rule that I did address. And that, I will tell you, took considerably longer because I, meticulously went through the process of analyzing that and putting it on paper so that I was at the legal position I was taking was absolutely sound. And it is absolutely sound.
I just have one more comment. You made the statement, Mayor, that it would have been a sunshine law violation. I don't see how it would have been if the public would have stated it, in a city council meeting. I wasn't intending for you to ask me, because I definitely would not have had that conversation. But I just wanted to make sure that the general public realized that I meant in this room that you would publicly state it.
Better clarification, no problem. And that's not the appropriate way of dealing with such a request. We deal with it via resolution. And I have the right to bring a resolution. We talked about a resolution that was brought earlier that could have been avoided by reading second paragraph of my lawsuit. We spent an hour and a half doing it. So I have every right to bring a motion and a resolution. And this was for the city's protection, folks. This wasn't to punish anybody. This was for the city's protection. I sit here and I hear comments made. 1 camera, 2 cameras, 3 cameras recording everything that's being said. Where do you think those tapes are winding up? You've made declarations against interest, you didn't even know it. You don't even realize it sometimes when you say something. Not you, I'm talking about the council in general. It'll all come out, I'm sure, at the appropriate time. And let's clarify something. I'm not the attorney on this case, so stop anyone intimating that, because I don't appreciate it. It's not my lawsuit. I'm actually trying to help this city right now and save it from making more bad law and bad rules. This was a compromise. If the council wants to go for it, that's fine. If they want to reject it, I'm fine with that too. But then I will have to address the fact that my motion was not heard. And then we will get a ruling as to whether your existing law is good or not good. I promise you that.
Now that I've looked through it, I would be willing to vote for this, provided that we only added the shade meeting portion of it. I think that we have no business discussing pending or prospective litigation.
Can I explain to you why that's in there?
I would like to keep it that way.
Let me explain to you why that's in there, okay? You said that Fred can talk with all of us. There's actually an issue. If he talks with all of us and comes up with a decision, there's actually a bridging potential for that, which is a sunshine violation. The reason why that is in there with his warning, and it doesn't mean we have to do it. We had this happen not too long ago, and this is concluded litigation, so we'll talk about it. We had a slip and fall at Morgan Street. We got notice, and as I recall, it was a very comprehensive notice of lawsuit. It was incredible. I've never seen one so well put together. It had code provisions, it had state law provisions about drainage and the showers and everything else. And we got it, and instead of heading this off before it got to a lawsuit, the whole reason the state gives you 6 months of time between notice of lawsuit for a tort claim and the actual bringing of the suit is so that you can do something about it. We sit here and do nothing because we don't want to talk about it because it's going to go away. Well, it doesn't go away. It goes to court. It goes to trial. And when you go to trial, the price of poker goes higher because the lawyer has to work more.
Actually, I believe that that case went directly to our insurance company. Is that correct?
Well, what I was about to say is when a notice of a case, like a slip and fall case comes in, the city has insurance for that, and Lynn notifies me of the fact that we got a claim letter, and then Lynn ships the claim letter to the insurer, and the insurer assigns claims counsel, and claims counsel evaluates the claim at that point, and that's something is done, and that's exactly the track it follows.
And the reason why, go ahead.
If I may, is at that point, I do nothing. Other than if the claims counsel calls me, I certainly take the phone call, or if he calls Lynn, Lynn takes the phone call and gives him additional information related to them evaluating the claim. And that's the track that's followed.
Right. And the reason why, we actually proved this whenever we did have a shade meeting. We discussed it. We made a decision. And the insurance company did what? Does everyone remember? They came back and said, this is none of your business. We're paying this, and we control how much we're paying. And no matter what we voted on, if you recall, almost everyone said, we're not paying, we're going to fight to the end on this. And what happened? The insurance company came back about 3-4 days later and said, you can't do that. We're the ones that are paying the claim, and we'll handle it. So, a majority of our lawsuits, whatever comes in, where does it go to? Does it go to our insurance most of the time? We're notified. I believe we're not in the dark. We always get all the details as soon as we're notified. It all comes to us. We just don't discuss it because at the end of the day, the insurance company, they have the final say so.
You know, and I followed up on that question because I said, you know, well, why do we bother having a shade meeting? And the response from the Florida League of Cities lawyer is, it's not a necessity. It's the unilateral decision of the insurance company to make the decision. So you can make whatever input you want in a shade meeting, but at the end of the day, it boils down to what does the insurance company want to do. And if you decide beforehand you want to take some action, the insurance company may back off completely and say, it's yours now, you own it. So, I mean, we have the Florida League of Cities coverage on this thing. Can I just continue with my comment? Thank you.
If Dave is, okay, go ahead, yes.
The vice mayor has hit this thing squarely on the head. This ordinance change is not in the best interest of the city, nor in the best interest of the council as a whole. And I don't support this thing either. The current ordinance works. Yeah, it could probably be tweaked to come in alignment with the Florida statute just by designating which section of the Florida statutes we want to comply with for the pending litigation and to be able to have a shade meeting. But ultimately, it worked for us that time. We had the meeting, there weren't any major repercussions, and as we found out, at the end of the day, it's a decision by the insurance company. It's not a council decision. And if you decide to go a different way, the insurance company backs off, and the Florida League of Cities and says, it's your ballgame from here on out, and you incur all the costs of it. These things are covered by the Florida League of Cities insurance. I mean, we didn't pay any legal fees for that. We didn't pay any penalties or settlements for that thing. To discuss prospective litigation, I don't foresee any upside to that. It's a distraction. When it reaches the pending stage and it's current litigation, fine. Then let's go ahead and start thinking about complying with the Florida statutes and have a shade meeting to discuss the issues and maybe make our recommendation to the insurance company or the Florida League of Cities. But other than that, it's just a distraction and a waste of valuable time until it becomes a real issue where we are designated parties to this thing. This thing, the declarations or admissions against interest, that's the very real thing. And I reached out to the Florida League of Cities attorney who represents municipalities in these litigations against the cities and lawsuits against the cities. He's vetted by the Florida League of Cities. He has their full trust and confidence in dealing with these things, and he makes a living at dealing with the litigations and lawsuits against cities. And his unqualified opinion was, don't do this. Don't do this. Admission against interest, you can have your city attorney give you warnings and concerns all day long. But at the end of the day, all it takes is a utterance or a slip of the tongue to hold something against you in a court. And based on his experience and opinion working with lawsuits and the Florida League of Cities representing municipalities in this thing is a lot of council members and a lot of even municipal attorneys aren't familiar with some of the issues involved in admissions against interest. At the end of the day, the only people who decide what is an admission against interest is a judge and a jury. So all the warnings in the world won't stop a slip of the tongue or an utterance against our interests. And while we may besmirch the reputation of some of these Florida League of Cities attorneys, they make their living doing this and dealing with it every day. Given the current climate of litigation and stuff, this is not in our best interest. I think I don't want to provide a microphone for more lectures or more espousing of opinions on this thing. And as you can see, in everything else we deal with, we have rampant emotions flying here, and that's where you run into the danger of utterances or slips of the tongue that can be held against us. So at the end of the day, there's no upside to this thing. Pending litigation, no problem. If we want, like the mayor suggested, let's bring it in alignment with the designating the Florida League of Statute 286.011, but I'm dead set against discussing any perspective in litigation. It's a distraction and there's no need to it, and there's absolutely no value add or upside to it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Patty, put the following in the record verbatim. Quote, I'm going to read something in, then I'm done talking about this. Okay? It is my legal opinion that Section 2-63 of our city code is unconstitutional and in violation of Federal Section 1983, which states, every person who under color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory or the District of Columbia subjects or causes to be subjected any citizen of the United States or other person within the jurisdiction thereof to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution and laws shall be liable to the party injured in an action at law, suit, in equity, or other proper procedure for redress, except that in any action brought against a judicial officer for an act or omission taken in such officer's judicial capacity, injunctive relief shall not be granted unless a declaratory decree was violated or declaratory relief was unavailable. End quote. That ends my comment on that. Your law is unconstitutional. I gave you an offer. Take it or leave it. You have the law in front of you. You have a city attorney who told you there's constitutional issues. Ask him his opinion. I wanted to make a motion and I wasn't allowed to talk, and I'll be damned if it's for the city's convenience that you get to shut up an elected official. You think that's constitutional? Let's try it. Let's try it. Who's up? Mr. Riley.
I wanted to clarify the comment that Glenn made, just to be clear. The shade meeting that is authorized by 286.0118 is only for pending litigation. So you can't use that for prospective litigation.
No, I understand, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Just want to be, you went back and forth between the two a couple times, so I just want to make that clear. The second sentence about discussing prospective litigation, the way it was written was the city council may, and that is permissive. That doesn't mean you have to do it. It means you can refrain from it.
Oh, it'll happen. It'll happen. If we vote for this, it'll happen, I can assure you. That's exactly why it's put in here, so that it will happen.
Okay, well,
I agree with that 100%.
I'm writing the proposed draft of the law in the best way I can to be responsive to what I was asked to do. That's what I did. I didn't say shall,
You did your
I
job,
said
Mr.
may.
Riley, I appreciate it.
Let me finish my sentence. My advice to you is do not discuss pending litigation and refrain from doing it in a public forum. And I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying the more prudent action to take is not to do it. And I'm not suggesting that anybody's constitutional rights be infringed. I mean, there's times you have every right to do something, yet you refrain from doing it because there's a better way of doing it, or there's something that you should consider other than the fact that you have a right to do it. So, you know, again, I did what I was asked to do. I prepared a draft of this. If y'all want to change it, then please tell me how you want to change it. And if you don't want to change it, then you can leave the code provision the way it is.
As I stated earlier, I will be more than happy to insert the statement about the shade provisions, but as far as prospective litigation, I would prefer to leave it alone.
You have every right to make the amendment. That is not my deal with the city. So make the amendment if you wish, but that we have no deal.
There is no deal.
I'm making a deal. I made a deal with the city, and if this is the ordinance that we crafted, that was a compromise. And if people don't want to compromise, then test your law. I will put it to the test. Guaranteed.
Mayor, I wrote the ordinance I was asked to write.
I'm not criticizing you at all.
I'm not saying you're criticizing me. I did what I was asked to do, and you know as well as everybody else in this room, it has to be presented in a city commission meeting.
I understand.
So that's what it's doing, and the city council members are debating it. That's what they should
That's
do.
fine, and we're
They have
having
different
debate.
points of view.
We're having debate.
I do have a question. Currently, with prospective litigation, it's not supposed to be discussed in a council meeting. What happens if a council member brings up that prospective litigation? Just like what's happening right now. How does that apply with our current city code?
Well, it's been brought up tonight, and according to the city code provision as it exists today, I did exactly what I was supposed to do and pointed out that that shouldn't be discussed further. But I'm the lawyer for this group of people, and I give you legal advice, and if you choose not to follow it, then you potentially suffer the consequence if you make a misstep. And I'll be the first to sit here and tell you, I don't have a lock on wisdom, so occasionally I may be wrong. But on this one, I've done exactly what the code asks or says I should be doing.
Correct. And my question is, okay, if we all decide to follow the rules of 2-63, but one of us is the one threatening litigation, what happens? Is that person in violation because they're the one threatening us with litigation? Because if that's the case...
Well, I'm not allowed to threaten litigation.
Because if that's the case, then we've been violating...
I would like to raise an issue here, and it's to the city attorney, because my summation of this conversation is we are talking about prospective litigation right now. And I would caution all of us not to make any other declarations or admissions.
You're an attorney, Mr. Dunn.
Thank
You
you.
graduated from law school? You know how to spell law school?
There's only one vetted lawyer in this room right now. That's our city attorney.
Oh, really?
That's true.
Oh, I have a wall of stuff that says I am.
I have never seen it, and you are not vetted by this council.
Go look it up on the bar. It's public information.
All right, guys, let's stop comparing sizes
I'm not gonna
now.
sit here
Come
with
on,
accusations.
guys.
I think you need to caution us about if we're talking about prospective litigation is what I'm hearing.
Caution, yeah.
Has the litigation been challenged? Has litigation been proposed? You have a notice of lawsuit? It's not prospective unless there's a notice of lawsuit. That's what your code says, that's what your charter says. Read it.
Okay, let's
And that's what the state law says.
calm
So
down.
don't tell me what's prospective litigation.
Mayor, I understand.
Mr. Airplane, all
Point of order
Point of
here.
order, this is
Enough with the point of
this is
orders.
getting personal.
Yeah, well, it was personal when you attacked me, saying that I'm not a lawyer. Two rounds
Said
here,
you-
both of which, by the way, are defendants in a
I
lawsuit.
said one attorney was vetted in this room.
Yeah, well, you go look it up, okay? How dare
Guys,
you.
I don't have time.
guys, let's stop comparing
How dare
diploma sizes. Come on.
You piece of
Come on.
crap. That's what you want.
And I propose another 5-minute timeout. I mean, yeah, I think we need a timeout. Do we need to go to order? Because you guys are acting like kids.
I think we should just call for the question and move on with the agenda instead of continuing to have timeout so people can
Yeah,
call
well, I think
out.
we'll let the mayor run the meeting, and we're gonna talk to the
Screaming.
citizens next, okay?
We need to take a moment. Everybody breathe.
There's only one person here that's losing his mind.
I know, but we're
I've
all
called on you multiple times. I'm gonna take the floor.
reactive. You guys are being reactive.
I've heard from Gaddis and Gunn and Gaddis and Gunn to defendants in the lawsuit.
All
Am I
right.
allowed to say that?
I say we take a minute. Fred, you gave your recommendations, you gave your thoughts, which I solely appreciate, and I'm ready to move on and vote so we can get this over with.
I'm ready to bring it to a vote after I hear from citizen comments and any other
Yes,
council
of course,
comments.
that's the proper protocol.
This council just gave the confidence notified to Mr. Riley. I think Mr. Riley's given us an ordinance that we should accept. Ordinances are for today and the future. I don't care about penny litigation, all right? This protects us today, tomorrow. If penny litigation, you want to raise grandfather clauses or whatever, do that. For right now, I think we should take it, close debate, give it to the citizens, and then vote.
Glenn Gunn.
Yes, I'd like to propose an amendment.
What's the amendment? Talk.
Yes, I would like to take the proposed change to the city ordinance. I would like to leave in the section about the compliance with the Florida statute 286 and strike the last sentence about prospective litigation.
We have a second? No second, it dies. Back to the other council comments on the original motion. Any?
I would like to make, propose an amendment, a motion for an amendment.
Go ahead.
All right, so let me make sure I've got this straight. Third line, where it says pending litigation, I would like for it to say pending and prospective litigation, except that the council may discuss pending litigation in accordance with section 286.011 Florida statutes. Everything else needs to come off. And then that way, that completely prevents us from discussing pending and prospective litigation, yet makes the clause about the Florida statute for the shape provision.
Isn't that what was just proposed?
No, he actually left off the pending prospective litigation. That's why I didn't second it. So just cleaning up what you said.
Yeah, I vote to strike out the last sentence with perspective.
See, prospective litigation is not mentioned whatsoever. It just says pending litigation above that.
Right.
So I would like for it to say pending and prospective.
I don't think you want to talk prospective litigation.
We have a motion. What's the motion? You want to eliminate the last sentence?
I'm trying to make
We're not
sure.
thinking out loud here, Dave. You have an amendment or you don't. If not, I'm going to go to count to citizen comments. You can make it later.
I just spelled it out.
Well, what is it? The last
The
sentence you want
presiding
stricken?
officer, or on the request of the city attorney, shall rule out of order any discussion by the city council of matters that are the subject of any pending or prospective litigation, except that the council may discuss pending litigation in accordance with section 286.0118 Florida statutes. End of sentence.
And you're striking the last sentence, I assume?
Striking the last sentence.
Okay, I understand what you're doing. We have a second to that?
Second.
Now we can discuss it. Dave Gaddis is first.
It makes perfect sense. Basically, this clarifies the shade provision so that we legally have a way of doing it. And as far as having any discussion of litigation in public meetings, this would prevent us from doing that, whether it's pending or prospective, which I believe is the safe route to go for the city.
The shape 286.011 sub 8 only deals with pending. It does not.
Right, and that's because it's Florida statute. It does not cover
Perspective.
prospective.
Perspective doesn't work in the shade.
No.
That's correct.
I guess that confuses me. Does that mean that your amendment is not needed because perspective doesn't meet in the shade? I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Well, basically, if you take I don't have the original section D or 263D in front of me. I wish I did. But basically, it says pending or prospective. We can't discuss it. What's missing from it is how we can discuss pending litigation according to Florida statutes. So if you take this, here it is right here. Currently it says the presiding officer or on the request of the city attorney shall rule out of order any discussion by the council of matters that are subject to any current or prospective litigation. It actually should say pending or prospective litigation. What's missing is following that a comma, except that the council may discuss pending litigation in accordance with section 286.0118 Florida statutes. If you take what we have now and then you add that beginning from the comma about the exception, I'm all for it.
That makes sense. You covered all the issues that I have.
Right. You look like you want to say something.
Well, Dave, your proposed amendment would, of course, strike the last sentence, correct?
Correct. But see, the way it's written right now, it does not have perspective. If you strike the last sentence completely, it does not mention perspective whatsoever. And I would prefer to leave perspective in there, and then the exception is only allows for pending. So you can't discuss on this dais, you cannot discuss pending or prospective litigation. In a shade meeting, because of Florida statute, you can at least discuss pending. In my opinion, this is my opinion, the way I feel about it. Perspective is a good way for us to debate it up here, look, there's things going on, everything's being recorded. Anyone, and trust me, it will, after, whenever certain people are no longer in office, they're coming for us, I can assure you. And they're going to, it's all going to be prospective until something is filed.
Let me restate what I think your amendment is, okay? The presiding officer or on the request of the city attorney shall rule out of order any discussion by the city council of matters that are the subject of any prospective or pending litigation, comma, except that the council may discuss pending litigation in accordance with section 286.011 subsection 8 Florida statutes, period. And the rest of the draft provision is stricken.
That's it. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
I'm sorry, you're done?
I'm done.
Do you need us to go ahead and maybe just table this so you can really look into it to make sure it doesn't break any other laws where no trucks can be driven through it? I mean, I'm just asking, do you need more time to look it over with the change that Vice Mayor Gaddis asked for? Because I don't want to just jump on it.
Are you making a motion to table this, Ms. Lowe?
She's asking, but she hasn't made it yet.
And this is a God's honest answer. I did not dwell and did not dig extensively into the constitutional argument that Mayor Manzo has asserted. And the reason I didn't do that is because I thought this was, the way I wrote it, a fair way of presenting it. If you would like to table this to another meeting, that's fine. I will look further into that aspect of it to make sure that there's absolutely no issue. So